All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics are Local. So y'all know it's the fourth Friday, so y'all know it's time for the disciples. So they're gonna be up first, and then of course, after the disciples at 7:30. No, at 7. I'm sorry. We got William Snowden, the director of the Louisiana Juror project. So,
That's tough work. I'm looking forward to that conversation.
you familiar with him?
I'm familiar with Louisiana. It's a
Okay.
deeply red state, and they're trying to do some jury reform down there that would be more inclusive and less repressive. That's some heavy work. It's a heavy lift.
So yeah, so they're going to be up at 7, and then of course 7:30 is going to be our newly minted Congresswoman, who is trying to figure out her monthly schedule for the LaMonica Report live from Congress. She's
And
going to
she's
be up at
down in
7:30.
D.C. and she's not being quiet.
Yeah, yeah. So she gonna be up in her role tonight as the Congresswoman. She's gonna come through and tell us what's going on. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It's nuts. There's some attacks going on with some of her fellow Congress women down there. So particularly Congresswoman Crockett. So want to see what's going on. So she's going to be up at 7:30, and then of course at 8 o'clock we got Colton Gilbert. You familiar with him?
Award-winning debate coach, raising some hell. Got a lawsuit going on around critical race theory and the attacks on education. He is down at. Not only is he in Little Rock, Arkansas, he is the debate coach. He's the Jonathan Alston of Little Rock Central High School. The epic once all-white segregationist, Jim Crow racist, dyed in the wool Little Rock Central high school with a lot of history. And this young brother's a union organizer too down there, so he's down there making some noise in defense of our history. That's another conversation. Looking forward to.
Yep. Well, he's going to be up at 8 o'clock, and then of course at 8:30, the was supposed to be DJ Rhino, but we got a text. Of course, his daughter's birthday, so he's not going to be with us tonight. So perhaps you know brother
Hakeem is
Hakeem
going to join us.
might be joining us. I'm not sure. So
All
uh,
right, all right.
be joining us in that half hour. If not, we'll take the opportunity to hopefully discuss some of the things that are going on and how tough it is, you know, for a lot of different people who are unexpectedly, of course, Zaid, just losing their job, right? So, uh, did I say Haq's name wrong? Hakeem?
You got it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's going to be up. So, of course, we know the disciples are up first. As we wait for the other members, of course, that our First Lady is here. First Lady Balena Ali is in the building representing the disciples before they get here. But, Balena, you want to tell us what's going on? Of course, I know y'all got a superstar guest that's going to be on your segment tonight.
Yeah, First Lady of Newark is going to be on tonight with us. It's just a lot going on. I was just in my kitchen. Tomorrow we're having a fundraiser. Myself and another young lady is doing a fundraiser for the youth ministry at my church.
Are you baking?
I baked 500 cupcakes.
Look out.
Wow.
We're gonna sugar you to death.
And
We're
then
gonna sugar you
500
out your money.
cupcakes.
We're gonna sugar you to death.
Apple pie in a cup, cherry pie in a cup. I made brookies. I got banana pudding cupcakes, double chocolate cupcakes, Oreo cookie cupcakes. I got sprinkle cupcakes, cupcake with bubblegum on top of it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
I
yeah.
love cooking, but I'm scared of baking because I do not want to be. It will beat you up and you have your waistline laughing at you.
Yeah. I had to toss a couple of batches of stuff this week. Yeah, but I got back on track. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say that, Belina, my cheeks just blew up. Like, whoa. Like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
And
but we're gonna
you
be
know,
at 580. We're gonna be at 580 South 12th Street tomorrow from 12 to 4. Come on out and get the cupcake.
all right. Hey, Belina, but you better be glad you ain't got no small kids around, because you know they
I
be
do. I
running
got
on.
three grandchildren. I got three grandchildren right that live right over top of me. And they
So
when
how
they
is
go
that with that
Sunday,
baby? How you able to do that without them? Because you know, you used to like to lick your mama's pan and all that stuff.
well, my grandkids know me when I'm in my kitchen. It's my safe space, and don't nobody really come in my kitchen but me. So they
Oh,
already
okay.
know that. Yeah, they get what come out the oven. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm sure they can smell all that cooking going on. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I see. I see the councilwoman at large has joined us.
And you know she ain't sitting down nowhere either.
Yeah. What's going on, Roundtree?
She's muted. She tried to show us somebody. She's muted.
Yeah.
You got on mute.
Roundtree, you muted if you can hear.
She's steady talking. Muted, muted.
Program.
There you go.
I mean, I want you guys to congratulate Miriam Bay. I just brought you on All Politics and Local. Women Award in honor of Women's History Month. Can you all just say congratulations to
I've
Miriam
known
Bay?
Congratulations.
congratulations, Queen.
Thank you. Thank
Congratulations.
you.
I've
Thank
known
you
Miriam
very
Bay
much.
since
But you
back
got to
in the
also say
70s.
congratulations to all the honorees that she set aside for Women's History Month.
Right
I
on,
know
right
this is
on.
not
Keep
part
it
of
on,
our show
strong.
tonight, but I apologize for being. Lord help me, Jesus. I'm coming on. Come on, give me a minute. I'm coming. I'm coming. First Lady Baraka gonna be on in about 5 minutes. I love you all. You got your picture, Vanessa? Cause I'm out. Peace. Deuces. Did you get it? Okay, good. I love you. I'm so sorry, y'all. Hello.
As you
I'm
were,
back.
as you were.
I'm I'm back. I forgot I was supposed to be on. I was at this women's history program. Um, okay, so I'll meet you down at the mansion. Okay, and then I got to go down to the. All right, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to All Politics Alone. Let me stop. Number one. Number one. Number one. Hip hop. Facebook, how y'all doing? Brother Ed, hey, my big sister Belina. Queen sister, how you doing? I am so thankful to be alive. I've been holding it down, praying for Lady Ali, praying, want to congratulate my son, Brother Jalil. I just walked right on in your program, don't even know what the topic was, and just started talking. Then brought y'all into some award ceremony. Oh, Lord, anyway.
That's what you do. That's what you do.
Right. That's
Listen, I
right.
got two.
We
I
clear.
got 20.
Because that
Listen,
that was that was the first thing Zaire said. He
She
said,
ain't gonna be sitting down.
yeah.
Lord have mercy. So let me yield because you know we're in the season of Ramadan, and
We
our
got
dear
3 more
brother,
days left.
3 more days left
Right, yeah.
for
Sunday's the
Ramadan,
last day.
and prayerfully, we with our Muslim brothers and sisters, we're going to actually realize that Lent also ends in a couple of weeks. Lent is a 40-day process.
Yeah.
Lenten season. We mess around here and let religion have us all over the place while God is trying to just bring us all into one
Come
space
on, come on.
mentally. Not we all have our individual spaces and individual assignments, but the real assignment is that we are supposed to love ye one another. And those who know nothing about loving one another because they don't even know how to love themselves have to be shown something good in us so they can see the difference. I went to a 7-year-old's funeral today. Something is
That,
wrong
oh
when
God,
parents,
yeah.
something is wrong when I get a call for I'm not talking about the boy that got shot. We know what that was. I'm
Right.
talking about parents. We got to pray for our parents because something is going wrong with our minds when we see something that vulnerable and lose control. We talking about Musk. We talking about Trump. in our own backyards, we are having issues that are taking our poor little ones to wherever God is going to have them in their final resting season. So, you know, I came on tonight really wanting to celebrate the women for Women's History Month. The truth of the matter is, there is no such thing as Black History Month, Women's History Month. We live all year, all day,
Yeah.
all week,
Yeah.
365 days of the year, giving, sacrificing, stressing, birthing, carrying the loads of the community, birthing nations, coming here from another continent that we didn't volunteer to come to, belong before me, Baba, or you, Edward, even thought about. And here we are today in 2025, and I'm attending a 7-year-old's watching a father carry this baby's casket.
That was the one that was beat to death.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
village is broke. The village is broke. That's what's wrong. It took a village to raise us. The
Honey,
village is
these
broke.
minds is broke. Minds are broke. You know what? Village, neighborhood. You always, you know, I think that some of this stuff, when people started saying, this is my hood, they were already mentally, I should say, stagnated from believing that there is a neighbor. When folks, I mean, I'm serious. Like when you start letting folks have that conversation, this is my hood. Nobody said, wait a minute. We don't call it your hood. We call it the neighborhood because there's folks around you. Like the structure of that conversation never took a turn. We just grasped that like we do any other slang. You know, I pray because I will never forget hearing the stories of Amiri Baraka, the mayor's father. I didn't quite understand as a little bitty girl the rebellion because I didn't even know what it was. I knew that I was sitting on Martin Luther King Boulevard, which was High Street, looking down at these big old machines that looked like monsters out of space. And they were actually tanks rolling through the street. I remember school issues where, you know, public schools and the superintendents, and they had their chaos going on. I remember hearing stories about places some Black people couldn't go, but I wasn't blocked from going because my mother just so happened to have been somebody in the community, so she wasn't blocked from going over to Biazzi's on Bloomfield Avenue or wherever it was. I think that's the name of it, Biazzi's, some Italian place. But we right here in Newark, New Jersey, had a line drawn where people couldn't go. Neighborhood.
Right.
But they protected. They were protecting their neighborhood, just like some of these young folk today throw sneakers over the telephone line like that's their area. Where in the world? What has happened to our minds? I pray daily for God to heal this land. But if some of us who claim we want it healed don't turn from our wicked ways, as it says in 2 Chronicles 7:14, turn from our wicked ways.
Yes.
Seek God's face.
Yes.
How we gonna hear from heaven and we so busy talking to the devil? How we gonna hear from heaven when we let the distractions of negativity? On this show called The Disciples is what all of us should be trying to be examples of, because it says, let the least amongst you serve you. You had Jesus washing Judas' feet, but Judas was the one that betrayed him. But he didn't cuss him out. He didn't throw him out the upper room. He sat and ate with him and told him, I know one of you amongst, I know, I already know. So we know these things, and we're watching our neighborhood over the years. So as we celebrate women, we thank women that still plant flowers. We thank the women that still do all of the things that's necessary to beautify.
We'll plant mine again
Lord,
this summer.
huh?
I'm gonna plant my flowers again this summer.
Thanks be to God. Thanks be to God. Hey, wait a minute. You don't just plant flowers, you bake. Now let me
I'm
find
gonna be
out
having a
where.
bake sale tomorrow. We're talking about baking. We're having a bake sale. I got 500 cupcakes in my kitchen.
Oh my Lord.
500.
Oh my Lord. Y'all, come on, announce it.
Don't sugar you
Let's
to
do a
death.
PSA. And let me find out where they going inside. Hold on. Where's the banner? Oh,
Because
take the banner. What is this?
I eat like pecan pie.
No, the resolution don't go here. I'm sorry, I'm at
Right,
Kruger
Zion? You
Mansion.
like pecan pie.
Yes, ma'am.
Zaire and my sister are like pecan pie.
Get the banner and the easels. It's going inside. Did he give you the easels? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to plan a basketball tournament. I'm not planning nothing. LeVar's having a basketball tournament. Um, is Linda Baraka on? Nope.
She's
And
trying
it's
to
Um,
something
get
that
on.
you talk
She's
about
trying
the
to get
women in
on.
our minds,
Yeah, she's trying to get
Councilwoman
on. She's
Law.
probably having some connection issues, but she's definitely trying to get on.
yeah, she says she was in the car. Now the reason why I invited her is because she has about four different things she's involved in. And you all know that we're on this trail. I don't know whether any other surrogates have come on. Um, the truth is, she is actually working on the D-Free movement, not just financial literacy, but what to do after you get the money and how to do some things. So we've been working with Buster Stories on that. And
That's the
I just
story.
thought she would,
Go movement legend.
yes, I just thought that she would be a good fit for tonight as we celebrate and are we closing out. Um, yeah, and we're closing out 10 to 1.
She can come on whenever she need to. She know that.
Hold on 1 second. Let me try to reach her, guys. You guys go ahead and talk. Let me, because I wanted to get on
We
here.
have to because we are radio. We can't go
Yes,
silent.
that's right. Y'all go ahead.
But to her point, I have to say this because I understand the gravity of that loss of the child. One of the things, that's not one of the things when I had my troops, Ed and Belina, we shut down the streets. And we used to do shutdowns even before we got started the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, right?
Yes, yes.
Before I was
In the cold, the rain, the heat, yeah, cold. Yeah. Remember we walked from Mika Avenue to Irva Turner?
hmm I would apologize, and folks would understand
She's
why I would
coming on in a
apologize.
minute.
That I would apologize because the generation that is my generation, the generation that are the children of the '60s, that grew up in, with the movement, we were bred around. A lot was expected of us, but and we were starting to see things internationally. We were supposed to be that generation to take this thing to the next stage. But the state understood that, and they
Yes,
unleashed
ma'am.
a vicious chemical warfare attack on our community that was known as crack. Instead of running that out of our community, we ran to
How
it,
y'all doing?
and we never recovered from that. So as much as we have done in this community to try and
You gave
get
them the
folks
tape, but they already
help
had it.
in the trauma informed strategy and whatnot, we have not reached everybody, right? And I'm sure that mother that did that to that child was a very broken mother who's carrying a lot of
Yes,
broken
yes,
traumatic
yes,
baggage
yes,
who needed a
yes,
whole lot of help that
yes. Something from her childhood. It's probably something from her childhood.
we
Hello?
yeah, there she is. There she is.
Okay,
All right.
Zaire froze
There
All
up.
right,
So
is
I'm
the
y'all
gonna
got
one
it.
leave
and
her
First
until
lady
only
is
Zaire
First
on.
frees up.
Lady Linda Baraka.
Hello, everybody.
I've been waiting for this day. She got 10 minutes. So we ain't gonna do no whole lot of introduction. Brother Ed, our producer, Brother Zaid, our armor bearer and producer, and our one and only Lady Balena Ali, wife to the one and only late Brian, not late. I'm going home to be with the soldier. She is our co-host. Brother Minister Haqq Muhammad is traveling, so can't be with us. She's a mother, so the baby gonna cry. Don't nobody tuned in. Worry about the baby crying, because
Amen.
mothers with babies,
We
they
all
cry.
got children
Amen.
got. That's
That's right.
right.
In church, if they cry, they just gonna cry. That
Yeah.
be glad the mama in church with the baby. If there's nobody there, let me stop. So anyway, we thank God for having First Lady on our show tonight called The Disciples. I know Lady Balena, First Lady's going to have a word of welcome for her as well, along with these brothers. But we know that she has something to say, not just about D-Free, not just about Women for Baraka, not just about what we're going to be doing on April 14th for maternal health, but being the First Lady of the state of New Jersey, we all do what we're supposed to do. Please help us welcome those tuned into our Facebook Live, the one and only beautiful and brilliant wife to our beloved mayor, but a woman in her own right and leader, Lady Linda Baraka.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
She put the icing on your cake, man.
You sure did, right? Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on today on such short notice, and also like while I'm traveling, so I apologize for that.
Can
So
I
we'll see.
say that I really admire you? We never really had a long conversation. I would speak to you from time to time, but I truly admire you. And now that my year is up of trying to hold my church together, because we have a pastor now, I'm going to really try to come to some of your events because I really, truly admire you, Queen.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your support as well.
So
And welcome
while
to the show.
while Roundtree is trying to get settled, you know, peace to you, First Lady. So why don't we talk a little bit about what you want to talk about
Go.
tonight? Of course, I've been reading some of the things that you've been doing. So let's talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have a few things going on. First, mainly, of course, we have the D-Free program that we're offering to the women in Newark citywide. Whether you work in Newark, live in Newark, pray in Newark, we want you to be a part of the program. It's D-Free Financial. We're offering it to 1,000 women in the city of Newark through our partners, Prudential Foundation, Audible, um, and a number of other partners as well. We were able to bring the D-Free financial education program to the city of Newark. And through that program, the women can either come in person or they can do it virtually. It's a 9-week course now. It started off as a 12-week course where the women were coming and each week they would learn um, a different lesson. But this time around, we decided to do it 9 weeks because we know that 12 weeks is just a little bit too much for people. But we really wanted them to get the information. So some of the lessons are condensed in it. And really that's about giving ladies the tools necessary for them to have financial empowerment in their households and ultimately within their communities. And what we're seeing now is a lot of good stories. We had a Zoom call with some of the participants, past participants as well as current participants. And what we're hearing from them is that they're starting to save more money. They're practicing better financial health. People in their households are listening in on the Zooms while they're taking the Zoom. And so they're also getting the information as well. And so I'm really excited about that program. We're going to have, this is the third cohort. We have a few hundred women have completed the program already. And on April 26th at FitFest that's being held in Newark, another D-Free program will have the culmination, which is the graduation for all of our participants who were able to take advantage of the course free of charge. And I'm traveling, so I can't really tell if you guys are getting all of it. So I hope that you are.
Yeah,
We got you.
We hear you.
Okay, good.
it's,
Yes, I'm
it's
really excited about the program, really being able to offer the women that financial empowerment tools, lessons on how to save money, how to open a business, how to save for your down payment, whether you're trying to purchase a home, how to save for your legacy, right? Like what are you leaving behind for your kids when you're not here? All those type of things are things that they're learning in the courses. So I'm really happy about that.
so you said that the program was 12 weeks. It is now 9 weeks. Is that in person or is that online?
Right. So you have the option to take it in person. So if you feel like you need to be in a group of people, you need to see them. You guys need to touch each other. You need to be in person. We have in person across the city at different locations, or you can do it on Zoom with the class. Online, they meet I think on Mondays once a week on Zoom. Or we also have a third option, which is self-paced. You don't have to do it with the class at all. You can do it at your own leisure. So in the mornings work for you, or if in the middle of the night while everybody in your household is sleeping works for you, we have that option as well.
And I noticed one of the things you said was there's a graduation. What I mean, what is that like?
I, I, I know you can hear my baby crying. You're gonna have to repeat that question for me.
No problem. No problem. So you said that there was a graduation coming up, right? So is this the first graduation or is this the second one?
Yeah, so what we decided to do was bring all three cohorts of people together. And so we've had actually it's been going on for 1 year now. And so all three cohorts of about, it should be close to 500 women are going to graduate on April 26th together.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. Did you say 500?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
We got about 500 women over the last year to participate in the program. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow. That is incredible. I mean, listen, congratulations.
Yes,
500.
Thank you
congratulations.
so much. And really, we couldn't have done it without obviously the partners again, Prudential Financial, Audible, PSCNG is a part of that. RWJ Foundation is a part of that. And then we have local community women who are leading the classes. And so I also want to thank them as well as the participants who are participating, but local women who said, you know what, I want to be a part of this. I might not need the financial class itself, but I want to help someone else get that information. And so I'm thankful for them as well.
Wow. And where's the graduation going to take place at? Where's that going to happen at?
It's at FinFest. I believe it's at NJIT. It's on NJIT's campus. I don't know the exact room, but I'm going to share that with you all because it's open to the public. We love for you to come and
Yes,
see some of the amazing stories, hear some of the amazing stories from these
yes,
women. It's
yes.
really, really beautiful. And like I said, yesterday we were on a Zoom with a number of participants, and just to hear the amount of change, small changes from things like, they're not buying lunch out every day and they're putting that money into a savings account, to people saying, listen, you know what, I paid down debt, I'm debt free now, to I have enough money in my savings for a home, my first time buying a home. So I'm really excited about the type of things that we are able to do through this program. And it's something that has never been done before. And so we are like, we told them yesterday, like, you ladies are making history
Yeah,
because we've never had this sort of partnership with the First Lady here in the city, or we even believe in the country. So we're excited about that.
yeah. I mean you keep doing some firsts, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, which is incredible. You see a need and you just, you go after it. That's what's making you a real dynamite, first lady. Of course, you climb in your own mountain at this particular point, just
Yeah, I
making a whole
appreciate
bunch
that.
of things happen.
I
But
appreciate that so much.
yeah,
And
I
like
mean,
going, and speaking of first again, we're trying to do another first, something historic on June 10th. And so we're organizing women again to participate with us tomorrow in the Women for Baraka, obviously, event in New Brunswick as well. So I'm really excited about that.
yeah, I heard about that too. So just
Loaded, fully
briefly,
loaded.
briefly tell people
Tell
about
everybody who's gonna be there.
that is a fundraiser that you doing for our next governor, right?
Listen, hopefully we'll have another first on June 10th. And so what we really believe is that women in general, right, have been the backbone of the Democratic Party for so long. And so we know that nationally they bring out the most numbers in terms of voters. They've been consistent in terms of loyalty to the Democratic
Right.
Party. And so here in New Jersey, they've done the same thing. And so we're trying to organize the women that we know up and down the state to help us bring home another historic victory.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is a
Absolutely.
fundraiser. You can get all of the information, obviously, through our socials. It's on team.baraka on all the social medias as well.
Yeah.
So
So
if any of your viewers are listening and want to support us, we appreciate you. Please come on down. You can pay at the door. You don't have to worry about advance tickets. So it'll be at Delta's Restaurant in New Brunswick.
right. Yeah. And for most folks who don't know, Delta is one of the premier black restaurants down in New Brunswick. So y'all definitely should make sure, if y'all just don't get out to go and support the mayor, we want y'all to do that. But obviously, it's a two-prong approach. Y'all be supporting a black restaurant and at the same time supporting our mayor and next governor. So that's wonderful.
Absolutely. And that was so intentional. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the mission you on these days, with all these firsts you seem to be making happen. I'm not, listen, I can't let you go, First Lady, without saying we thank you for what you do every year at that Winter Village. I mean, I don't know how you pull all that together, to tell you the truth.
I
I
don't know
mean,
either. Right now, it's been a struggle. As you can hear my baby in the background. So I appreciate you guys for giving me a few minutes of your show to come on and talk about the different programs. And we'll definitely be back. And hopefully we'll be back with some really good news in about 70 more days.
that's right. That's right. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, First Lady, for taking time to
Thank
come
you.
on. And we would definitely look to, post all of those flyers up on the website so we can make sure people are encouraging. Congratulations on getting those 500 graduates.
Thank you
I
so
am,
much.
Yes,
I am impressed.
congratulations.
Thank you so much, First Lady.
Thank you guys. All right, y'all. Good
All
night.
right, now take
Right.
care. There it is, y'all. I mean, it is
Wow.
it is amazing, right?
Yes.
With
Yes.
everything
I
that's
found the
happening.
flyer. I'm trying to figure out how to get it. I'll put it in
You
the.
want
But
me to
that's
send
just
you the
but that's
flyer? Do you
just
have the
what women
flyer?
do. We just
Yeah,
do
I
it. We
have it.
just do stuff like that. We
Yeah.
just
We
wear
need
a
to
lot
be
of
clear that
hats.
that event is tomorrow,
Yep.
11 to
What we
Y'all
5 at
missing?
Delta.
What y'all need?
put those flyers in the chat so we can post them. You know,
Oh, I got it. I got it. Do it right now.
yeah, put them in the chat. We can
Hold
post.
on. Here it go right here. I'm gonna send it to you, bro. Baba. Well,
Yeah,
this is the one for tomorrow.
you
Ba-
send it to Bob and he can post it for you.
Baba Zaid. And then I'm gonna post
And I'm
what
glad to
else?
see you. It seems like
I gotta
I
send you
haven't
the
seen
one
you in a
for
long time.
We got the one for the
who
financial
me?
literacy campaign.
Ed,
Uh, okay. You want to say good evening, everyone? Come here, Brian. This is my guy right here. Well, pull it off real quick. Can somebody give me my keys?
she'll
Say
pull
good
you on
morning, Brian. Good
around.
evening, Brian.
Good evening.
This
We
is
see you,
all
son.
politics
Hey,
We
and
see you.
local,
How
no
you
matter
doing,
what
son?
walk of life you come from.
Every
Yes, it's
hey,
all politics and local. No, I don't have my keys. Say good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
How you
uh-oh.
hello.
doing, son? All
What's
right.
up, nephew?
How you doing?
Yeah.
How y'all doing?
So I'm at Kruger Scott Mansion, of course. You know you guys travel with me everywhere, no matter where I
Yes.
am.
Yes.
That's your mama mansion?
Yes, this way you and I
Yes,
have
I was
lunch.
there.
I love you. I'll see you in the morning at 9 o'clock. All right. LeVar's having a basketball game here tomorrow.
Okay.
A basketball tournament. It's the first Cougar, Makerhood's Cougar Scott basketball
They got a
tournament
gym
here.
in there?
No, it's going to be in the court outside. And I've been
Oh,
here with Jen from TRX Cafe. She has the cafe that she's open from 11 to 3 here at Kruger Scott Mansion. Come by and get, she has a place on 12th Avenue. Say hi, it's Women's History Month. We had First Lady
We
Baraka,
can't
now we
see
got
her.
women.
We can't see her.
You see her?
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
wa alaikum salam.
So this is Women's History Month. So we're just being organic today where we are featuring some of the women. But listen, just all of a sudden, Linda Baraka, just all of a sudden, Jennifer, just all of a sudden was not Roundtree and Ali. Because we have been all of a sudden on the air for a minute now carrying it. Brother Ed, I am excited. Just left a program on my way to Jehovah Driver where there's about 25 of us that are celebrating a vision of women on the front line. But then I got to leave there and run the Good Neighbor for the New Hope Missionary Baptist Association semi-annual session. So my work is cut out for me tonight. Just to
Jesus.
rise tomorrow morning to go to New Brunswick, come back for the basketball game. And my assistant was saying, Roundtree, there's got to be something going on. There's got to be something going on tomorrow night. I don't see nothing on your schedule tomorrow night.
I'll give you
My
something.
assistant was like, they didn't even know. They was like, something wrong. We gonna get in trouble. We done missed something. We,
Right.
I'll
they,
give you something.
what you got? What you got? What
I
you
have
got?
been. I'm the only male and elder on a program it's a program that's going to be at the Gilbert Gant Center at 7 o'clock. Young women poets to close out Women's History Month.
Where? Oh, where?
7 o'clock at the Gilbert Gant Art Building, 505 Clinton
Just
Ave.
send it to me. Send it to me. I just
I'm not now. I'm saying that the event is happening. I'm not trying to put no pressure on you to break your neck.
just send it to me.
Yeah,
And if the Lord drives my car in that direction, I'll see you at 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Hey, Roundtree, I have no idea how you keep up with that schedule.
Oh, do that. Do it
And does
now.
it in
So it's
heels
not
too,
for
like
Yeah.
make
surprise
my
birthday
knees hurt.
party. I'm gonna call him now and tell him you're here, so he can
See,
come down and tell you
see,
what he wants.
Roundtree is working and still doing the show all the time.
All
Right?
the time, all the
Yeah.
time.
Trying to
Never
help
a dull
somebody
moment.
plan a surprise birthday party for their mm, for
Most
their Bishop
most of that
Griffin
stuff
wants.
drive me
Oh, I can't
crazy.
say nothing because shh,
Well, somebody, if
man.
he
And
watching, he
that's
know
that. Wait a
now.
minute.
What
You
you say, Melina?
Not no surprise. If he watching, he know now.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What a day, what a day. And she said, there you go. He's in and out.
guys, I just know this helps me keep my for the work and the consist. This house that I'm leaving right now, that's all I saw my mother do, guys. I don't know nothing about the cleaning of the white folks' house. I don't know nothing about. All I know is that I watched my mother work day in and day out. That's all I know.
Well, you
That's
doing the
all
same
I
thing.
know.
Yeah.
That's all I know. Yes.
Well, how you keep up with that schedule, Roundtree, I have no idea. You know what I mean?
So,
I have no
so
idea.
watch this. Watch this. I got somebody to help me with the schedule, but watch this. The hours are inherited.
Yeah.
I watched her
Yeah.
get up in the morning. I didn't see her get up. She would get up and shower and be ready, or bathtub, whatever she was doing. By the time my mother wake me up for school, she was fully dressed head to toe. I never saw her in a bathrobe. I never saw her with any bedroom slippers. I just never saw that. I just never saw it. So all I saw was work, 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 work. So I finally realized why my work ethic is so over the top, because I didn't see nothing else.
It's in your DNA, baby.
It's in your
I
DNA.
didn't see nothing but her working day in and day out. Did not know how she got where she got, other than her telling me the story of how she did not have, how she came here as a teenager, how she took care of other clear folks' family, how they
That's
treated her
right,
better than some
clear.
of the brothers, treated her better than some of us treated her, and we was all supposed to be looking out for each other. We stopped looking at each other from the day they started selling us to selling each other to who, Baba? They keep saying that the white man came and got us. We opened the door, let him in to take us. I'm just
Jesus.
saying. I'm just
Jesus.
saying. I'm, I'm just saying. Ed, you the lawyer. You know I'm telling the truth.
Oh yeah.
So here we are, 2025 is quoting Harriet Tubman, but we don't hear her that we could have freed more slaves if we knew we were slaves, if
Yeah.
they knew they were slaves. We don't hear her.
Yeah.
We don't hear Fannie Lou Hamer talking about I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. We don't hear the ancestor of Nat Turner, who was a man of God. While we so busy looking at the man, we not even paying attention to the mission. We
Hey.
so busy looking at what the man is about. Baby, what is the mission about that the
Uh-oh.
man is representing? How
Uh-oh.
about
She
that?
started, she, she
Uh-oh.
started, she started talking about Nat Turner. I go nuts. You know that.
I
Come
Uh-oh.
know.
on.
I
Uh-oh.
know.
Roundtree be walking around straight up Black Panther without the black
That's
tam.
right.
You know, you mess around, get it wrong. She start dropping those names and history on you.
Hold on. Let me tell you something. You remember Robert Smith, right? Let's just come back to this here. This. You remember Robert Smith? I think that was his name. They used to run the Panthers on Springfield Avenue.
No, I know who you're talking about. It's not Robert. Yeah, it's
What's his name?
Yeah.
He used to wear the big hat. What was it? He got
Yeah.
sick and ended up in a nursing home.
A good organizer,
A
strong
great.
on housing. You know,
No, this guy I'm
Roger,
talking about, Roger,
Roger Smith.
Roger
Your
Smith. I
brother
knew it was an
Atlas Smith
art,
is
and
still here. Yes.
I remember my mother had a business on Springfield Avenue that she took over for this Jewish business owners named Sherman Decorators. Because after the rebellion, they had all this glass window that had been broken out. So they called my mother and said, "We got some buildings up here. We going back up to our business in Short Hills, and you can just come here and take all this." So my mother had a brick face and put windows in at the top. And Roger Smith and the Panthers down the street said, "Now she there now. We gonna look out for Miss Scott." So I think it was it near Food Town? It was a blue, I remember the building. Just as clear as day on Springfield Avenue. I was a kid. But they looked out for my mother. So what God has done is brought all of this stuff back. I never forgot it. But what God has done is made me realize that I got to put all this stuff, together, just like we eat collard greens and potato salad and chicken, and we take a little bite of all of it, but it all end up in the same place in our system to pass through. And the truth is, I tell folks all the time, you better take a little bit of this history and make sure that you share it. Because I couldn't even get my son to watch Roots when he was a little boy. He watched it for about 10 minutes. When he saw Kunta Kinte getting chased, he was like, "Mommy, I can't watch this because it scared him." I'm just saying. Our children don't know. They're like, "What?" Listen, don't even talk about Passion of the Christ.
The new version is kind of rough too. There was a new version they did a few years ago.
Which one?
There's a new version of Roots that they did a few years ago too.
Man. And then they say Alex Haley, that's why you got to be careful when you're telling stories, because you better hope somebody, just in case you twist it a little bit, I tell folks, make sure you tell me the right story, because if I was there, I'm going to remind you that ain't how it happened.
Several things about that we definitely need to say. Haley made some mistakes. He could have been more careful in how he documented and treated the sources. But the essence of his story was correct. This is Malcolm's centennial.
That's right.
Malcolm inspired him to track his family legacy down. And that's what you call, and what he did was a very basic genealogical method in terms of his family story. And they are in Gambia. They have land in Gambia. They have land in Tennessee that is still active, and his family still supports what is happening with his family in Gambia. So the essence is absolutely correct there. So we want to lift that up. Homeboy just needed to be more careful. I could get in his butt a little bit because he could have did a little better on the autobiography.
But he gone now.
In spite of that, Malcolm transcend that. Just transcend
both
that.
of them gone. So what we have to do is pray that when we telling our story, that we just tell the truth.
Yes.
That's all. Because if it's history and we tell the truth, I said in the funeral I went to today that I didn't even know I was doing a eulogy. I got there and the people that asked me to speak so long ago that they planned the funeral late. And by the time I got there, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to be here long." They said, "How you not going to be here long? You're doing the eulogy." I was like, "Oh, and Lord have mercy." And in doing that, when I got up before these people, it was like about 300 people in Cotton from all walks of life. And I had to make sure that I spoke in a language that was relevant but true.
Right.
So here go the truth. I ain't always been a reverend. Here go the rest of the truth. I used to drink Remy Martin. Here goes some more truth. I'm just saying, you can't be so heavenly bound, earthly good when you're walking in this spiritual life. Because while you're talking about Jesus, who some folk ain't never heard of, they want to hear about Louise and Baba. How about that?
Yeah.
And want to hear about it.
Tell me what you've been through, bro.
That's right.
Tell me what you've been through. Tell me something about you. Cause see, I done been through a whole lot.
Drug transaction, and I was the dealer.
My Lord, my Lord. My Lord.
But
Well,
but
I didn't want my father to have to come get me out of jail because I still was Madam Scott's daughter, you know. But listen. I don't care who daughter or son you are. If one person know, it can get out. That's
around,
it. So I used
I
to
think
say, go ahead.
I think that there's some sort of scripture somewhere I heard something about let your light
You
shine.
breaking up. It must be my location. Oh,
Isn't that right, Belina? Something about letting your light shine,
Right,
right?
Sean? Yeah.
Yeah. Because all the light some other people might know might be yours. They, like you said, they never met Jesus, but they met Roundtree and Belina, you know. So it's your light, that you need to let shine. It's your truth that you need to tell, you know. And that is what get people delivered, you know. Like when you start to tell people your story, I heard T.D. Jakes say on this thing I was listening to this morning. He said that if you ever find anywhere anything you going through by somebody else in the Bible, they got out, you can get out. Right? So you just got to know
That's
how.
right.
how you,
That's the whole moral of the story.
yeah, yeah. If they got out, you can get out, right? Because the Bible says God is not a respecter of person, right? Doesn't matter whether you male or female, whether you fat or skinny,
Hey,
you
y'all
know.
leaving?
Yeah, it's over with.
It's over
Right?
with. It don't change it. I want to hold on. I want
Month.
all politics. Everybody say Happy Women's History Month.
Let me see the money.
Happy
You
Women's
see
History
Assembly
Month.
Women's Space, Sister Barbara. Y'all, I just
Text
done
me the
took
money.
y'all to
Text me
every
the
meeting
address.
I've been to. I'm on all politics locals on the disciples.
I was talking to my
Oh yeah,
oldest
but I'm
grandchild.
not
She's
staying.
going
Y'all
out tonight.
leaving? No, we're just moving our cars. Oh shoot! Well, I gotta leave. I can't stay for real. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, go ahead, y'all. I'm just taking y'all
You
on
had
a nice
Assemblywoman with you, did you?
Yeah, that was her. But I got to leave. I'm going in here to this women's event that I can't stay for. And they went to move their car. But you know what I got to do? Show my face because they got like 30 women coming here. But I got something happening at my church. Hello, darling. I'm good, Apostle. I have about, this is a large contingent, and my name is on the flyer. So when my name is on something and I'm supporting it, I got to show up even if I can't stay. So I'm coming by to wave my hand
Right,
for this wonderful
right.
God Vision event that's happening tonight. Um, hey, this girl, is that the girl I'm supporting for school board election? That's
Yes,
her.
it is.
That's her. That's her. Come on
First
and
reelection.
take a look at our beloved sister Anderson, our school board candidate. Yes, yes, yes. Listen, I'm a free woman. Nobody pays my way but the Lord. And Ramadan Mubarak, sister. Uh, Neela, she has legacy. Happy Women's History Month to you. Wishing you great, 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 great success. I'm so glad they didn't start yet because they in the conference
They ain't
room.
never on
I'm
time.
getting
They ain't
ready
never
to
on time.
bring
Don't
them on all
worry.
politics and
They
local.
ain't never on time. You gonna have about 45 minutes. You okay? They ain't never on time.
Who got
My
45
husband
minutes?
not there. They ain't never
Hello,
on time.
everybody. Who got 45 minutes? I got
They ain't
45
never on
minutes to do
time.
what?
They ain't never on
Oh, no,
time,
I ain't worried
girl.
about them being on time. I got to be at my church in 15 minutes. They can be
And
all
Wow.
the time they want,
okay, well,
right, doctor?
you want
What's up,
leave?
doctor? Hello, Lady Talbot. Come on, y'all. Here we go. Happy Women's History Month. Listen, I'm on a radio thing. I didn't try.
Just stop.
Listen, we got a lot of guests on tonight.
You have.
Say good
Good.
evening.
Good
Sister
evening.
Dawn.
Good
Tell
evening.
them
How
who
are
you
you?
are.
I'm Dawn Brooks. I work in justice and policy as a consultant for Keene University, Watson Institute of Public Policy.
Uh-oh.
And that's
Welcome,
Lady
welcome.
Ali, Brother Ed Riley, Brother Baba Zaid, and this is the show called Disciples. It's on All Politics and Local, the number one hip hop. Come on here. Radio
Uh-oh. Thank you,
station.
Roundtree.
Hold on, we got another doctor in the house.
Well, blessings, everyone.
This is
Hello.
a
I
this
need
is
to
a
order my grandbaby a Uber, so I'm gonna be right back.
Okay.
listen. She
Okay.
is
Can
a
y'all see me?
credentialed
I heard you. I
minister
heard you,
of
baby.
music, a credentialed.
Yeah,
Like, you
she's
know,
going. I got a soon to be 17
go
year
ahead,
old grandchild.
Lady Bob, take care of my grandbaby and go get her an Uber right now. And I'll see you when you get back because you're going to have to carry the rest of this show. Well, by then, what's the name will be on telling us we got to get off. But anyway, because you know the sergeant at arms going to come and say, Jonathan is
He
6 is
is.
Jonathan around?
Yeah, he
He
coming.
will be.
Oh, well,
He-
let me go ahead and say what I got to say. Listen, Baba, um, she
No, you
is
introduce the queen. Introduce Queen.
she is a credentialed minister of music
For worship.
for work. Okay, let's say this for worship. Now,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know how folks got the title, right? They don't really know what it is till they meet this young woman, honey. Tell them who you are.
Reverend Dr.
Oh, I know y'all names. What am I doing? This, this Apostle Talbot and Dr.
This is a
Talbot.
safe
Reverend
space,
Dr.
Queen.
Megan Talbert, Yes Lord Ministries. I'm also the president of the New Jersey State Women's Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome, Queen. Welcome.
Welcome to all disciples. Come on,
I
introduce
might.
yourself.
Rita Harding from
Dr.
New York.
Harding.
I am an advocate for music ministry leadership in its authenticity in the Black, especially in the Black Baptist Church.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
that? Now you
Yes,
Yeah.
got
ma'am.
Dawn. Come on.
Hello. Hi there. My name is Wendy Hurling from St. James Social Service.
They feed all the entire world. And this young here, come on, Dr. Barbara.
Hello, folks. Barbara George Johnson from Kane University, John S. Watson Institute for Urban Research and Policy.
All
So
right.
Julia Feature, I'm a part of her foundation. It's called Got Vision. And she planned all of this stuff. And stuff is not planned, as y'all know, based on my schedule. When folks say they want to do something, I just say, okay, I got you. And then I got 50 other things to do. But
Yes, ma'am.
when you can bring a group of women that are coming together, like such as tonight, and you just met a few of them, there's my mama, Dr. Mamie Bridgeforth. There she is. Okay, now this
Wow.
is the dean of deans. She is not
How is
just a
how
woman
is
of
how is
God.
how is Miss Bridgeforth? I haven't seen her in a
Come
long
on, Barbara.
time.
How you doing, everybody?
Somebody want to say good
How
evening
you
to you
doing,
and
Madam
more
Westward? We
politics and
see it's
local.
been a
This
long
is the radio
time.
show you want.
Hello. How are
She
you?
just walked in the room. Go ahead.
Just walked in the door.
Just walked
Can you
in.
see
That's all
yourself?
right.
Just walked in,
Walked in
getting
on your
prepared
Tell
for
them,
walk.
tonight.
tell the people that's watching who you are.
Uh,
We all know who you are.
Reverend Dr. Mamie Bridgeforth, chairperson of the Division of Social Sciences at Essex County College, pastor
Former
First Faith
Councilwoman
Christian Center
Westward,
Church.
Newark, New Jersey, too.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's right.
See,
You ain't
so
forget.
this my show wasn't planned tonight. We've just authenticated all of this organically to celebrate Women's History
Organically.
Month.
That's right.
I just let y'all go on a tour from the mansion to some other thing I had to do at 140 Sussex. Now we end up here. Now I'm not going to take y'all to the revival. You want to
Right.
come to the revival? You got to go
Don't
to
worry
one of the
about it.
chairs
Jonathan got you
administration.
on his radar. He get ready to pop in
Well,
on you in
tell
a minute. You
Jonathan,
know that.
come on and put the gavel down because I got some announcements to make. Jehovah Jireh is having a phenomenal program tonight
Here he
with
come. Here he
some
come.
of, come on, well, come on in,
Here he
come right
come.
on, because I'm gonna say what I got to say.
Hey, we have a tight schedule.
We
We've got
always
people at
do.
seven,
We
seven
always do.
thirty.
You should have been on 10 minutes ago. Let me have my time because it's not
We
7 o'clock.
got 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes. I'm gonna leave you.
Say hi to the president of the
Oh, man.
NAACP.
Deborah
You,
Smith, Greg, we got to get you on
Hey,
next week.
you on next week, All Politics and Local. This is my show every fourth Friday. So I want to thank all of you who've tuned in tonight that have traveled with me on this journey of celebrating our women. We opened up with First Lady Linda Baraka, and I didn't know I was going to still be on by the time I got to Jehovah Jireh. But I want to thank you, Brother Ed, for thinking it not robbery some years ago to ask Brother Haqq Muhammad, would he do a show called The Disciples? And he said, I'm going to do it if Reverend Roundtree going to do it. And so here we are with Reverend Roundtree.
Wow.
Lady
Beautiful
Ali, we pay
personality.
homage to you for taking the baton so we didn't have to fight about who was going to be the next host because everybody wanted it, but we gave it to the wife in
All
Jesus'
right.
name.
All right.
So thank you, Brother Ed. Thank you, Baba, for your strength. Thank you for always reminding us that Nat Turner was not a myth. Thank you for
Right.
allowing me to remind you all that Fannie Lou Hamer was real. Thank you for letting me remind the people that it was not the white, the clear folk that opened the door for us to be taken. It was one of us. So let's be careful about how we attack and the things that we say and what we do. We are examples for our young people to watch. And if they see us acting stupid, they're going to emulate what we do. Let us continue to speak life to our children. Let us continue to work together. Let us continue to honor our Muslim sisters. Congratulations in advance to you, Kanila Anderson, for April 15th. We have a school board election coming up.
That's
Please
it.
don't be ridiculous and just let 3% of 300,000 people come out to vote for the
That's right.
largest voting base in the state of the state of New Jersey. We get 3,000 to vote out of 300,000 people. I don't care whether my child is in a senior citizen home. I'm going to vote because I'm going to vote for somebody else's child because the budget means a whole lot and we don't get, they not eating like we used to eat when we was in elementary school. They're not IAPs. These people with special needs. We need to come out and vote for people that care about our children. Not folks who just want to have a voice to be talking loud and saying nothing, as James Brown used to say. But the truth of the matter is, so as you know about Women for Baraka tomorrow. We're on the journey to the State House. I don't tell people what to do, but I tell them if you want to know what I'm doing, just watch me. Just watch me. Watch how I move. Because I'm going to walk in the direction that God has set for me. Because for too many years, I walked in the direction that I chose. I ain't choosing no more. Because
There
if
you
I walk in the direction that God chooses for me, I know my destination is going to be great. I
That's
got
right.
my lesson. I don't need nobody to tell me how to do it. I just wait on God to do it for me, and I
That's
walk in
right.
his light. So thank you all for tuning in. We have a basketball tournament tomorrow, the first basketball tournament at Kruger Scott Mansion. LeVar Scott is the contact person. Come on down and support these kids. I went to pick up the trophy for them. The trophy was tall as me, but it don't take much to do that. But the trophy
Uh-huh.
was tall. It was like way up here. So I had to get them to come get it out the car and somebody to put it in. But we're giving a trophy to the first place winner out of 4 teams. Ralph Terrell's church is playing neighborhood versus neighborhood. We're doing some things in the community. Stop talking about the hood and remember that we have neighbors and put neighbor back in to the neighborhood and stop accepting when folks say my hood. Say, no, wait, baby. We got neighbors over there. It's the neighborhood. God bless you. I love you. Remember Mayor Raz J. Baraka. Continue to pray for him. Pray for his team. Pray for our city. Pray for our county. Pray for our state. Pray for our country. And Lord knows you got to pray for the world. Because what's going on in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue ain't really, it's our business, but it's not. Because if you don't take care of your own home and you worry about what's going on in somebody else's home, that don't say a whole lot. Take care of what God gave you. And if you manage that well, you best believe God gonna take care of that food. Well, Jesus help me. That person, that individual, I don't want no problems with God. Y'all know I don't call
Uh,
nobody names. Y'all been calling him a whole lot of names. I ain't
Ain't
doing
nothing
that.
but the
I live
devil.
a different life. Anyway, I love you all. God
hey,
bless you.
hey, hey,
Jonathan,
Roundtree, make sure you send those flyers for the first lady so we can
I
post
already did. Didn't I already
it.
send one to you, Baba?
You got it, Baba?
Now, yeah,
All right.
I have it. I have it somewhere else, but
The
but
pink.
I'll
So
send
you
it to
want the
y'all.
flyer for the thing for the women for Baraka tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah.
At
Jonathan's got to post it.
graduation,
Yeah.
she want people to come to. She
Oh,
says she
that's
wants.
another flyer. That's for the D free, where we trying to keep people from going
The
from.
D free is already on the
It's not
page.
debt free.
And of
It's
course, I'm blaming Ed for this one.
from 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 debt to dividends and from delinquency to deposits. You know. Oh, I know. I thought about it because the Buster Soares told us that when he first began, I've been knowing him since I was 12. He told us this we gonna
Yeah.
close on this story. Hello, beautiful Asia. So Dr. Buster Soares, this what y'all gonna walk out with. He said, this is the financial point. He said when he first became a pastor, all the preachers was telling him he needed to have a big black Cadillac, white Cadillac, just a Cadillac. He went on down there and saw Lou Perkins, had a little bitty check from the church he was pastoring in, right? Wasn't making no money. Went and got that Cadillac, which was eating up all his little check. He thought about it after 3 months of making payments and said, I really should have told him I don't need no Cadillac because my hoopty was paid for. And I should have just waited a minute. His mother used to do, and y'all knew his mother. His mother used to be a layaway person. He used to be embarrassed because she'd go in the store and lay stuff away. He said, but he's come to realize that while she was laying stuff away, when it was paid for, she owned it and could walk right out with it. So people that are tuned in tonight, you can own it if you pay for it and just manage what God has given you. Because we really don't know what the future holds, but God does. But be
Yeah.
prepared. Somebody told me, Jonathan,
All right.
they was like, go to the bank and get your money out and put it in a box if you got any. They said, because just in case something happened. Somebody really told me that yesterday.
Yeah, but
They
if
said,
that,
they did. They
but
told me put it in a box and hide
Reverend
it somewhere.
Councilwoman,
I love you, Jonathan. Bye.
I love you too.
Bye. Bye,
It's not your
Jonathan.
fault though. It's Ed's fault. I'm blaming Ed.
You blaming Ed. Ed, the producer, baby. Ed wanted to ask me to come on the show. I love you. I'll see
Love
you
you
all
too.
next week
Love you
or
All
too.
right,
tomorrow.
Ramsey.
Bye,
Yeah.
Asia. Don't forget the basketball game tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Kruger Scott Mansion. Come support the children. Don't forget Lady Baraka with Women for Baraka tomorrow at Deltas in New Brunswick. God bless you. Have a
Love you.
wonderful evening.
All right, Roundtree.
Okay, get me out of here. See, you don't let me out the show, Jonathan. Remove me, sir. God bless you, Facebook
I'm just
Live.
waiting a little bit. I'm just waiting a little bit.
Well, let me see
Love,
what you got.
love you much. Love you much. Talk to you soon.
Hey y'all, how y'all
Hey,
doing?
good.
Appreciate y'all so much. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and get started on our next segment. And so as you see here, we have Mr. William Snowden. He is the founder, CEO of the Juror Project. Just background on how I know this phenomenal Black man through and through. He and I did a program called New Leaders Council, NLC, back in, we're not going to say the year because we're young. And so back then, and also a little caveat, Will went to Seton Hall Law School. He has spent time, not just in Jersey, but in Newark. And then he made his way down to Louisiana. In that background story, I don't even want to tell it because how he says it, it truly is beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, just want to introduce Will again from the Juror Project. Hey, Will.
What's happening? And before you start, Asia, this is not his first time here, right?
It will. So
He's
in
been
my
here before. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been looking for you. Welcome back. No, go ahead. Yeah, because yes, he was just full of information. So Will Snowden, yes, you had him before, Asia, before you took his back.
Yes. I know. So much so, y'all hold it to my brain, not my heart, because law school really just takes information out of your mind, and so you're just trying to like replace it or just say, God, I guess I don't need it that much. But yeah, so Will, how you doing? He's in Louisiana. Well. He's an hour behind or ahead. I get confused.
However you want to call it. Yeah, I'm doing well. It's so exciting to be back with y'all. Really looking forward to the conversation this evening.
Yeah, and so since you're already here, you already gave us a preface of the Juror Project and the work that's being done, or the work that you're doing down there in Louisiana. And so from last time you were here up until now, what's going on? What the dynamics? If you want to talk about Louisiana in general, in regard to the court system and the jurors, talk to us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back because the Juror Project is growing. And the last time that I was here, I was a team of one, and now we have grown to a huge team of two.
Amen. You doubled in size.
We doubled in size. But it's really exciting. We were able to bring on a deputy director. Her name is Portia Chiffon Venable. She's actually a public defender out of the Bronx. She and I have been in similar spaces relating to our advocacy around juries, and it's been really exciting for us to join forces. The Juror Project has kind of created some more clarity in terms of the things that we want to work on, and I want to describe those three things in three different pillars. So pillar number one is we are continuing our community education. We know the power that exists within that jury box, but we also know that historically in our criminal legal system, Black people and people of color have been removed from accessing that power of the jury box. So we're continuing our community education to make sure people are understanding some of the historical problems of our criminal legal system, and then positioning jury service as an opportunity for your everyday citizen to be part of the process of improving the fairness of our criminal legal system. The second component of our work is trying to work with jurisdictions who are recognizing that the diversity that exists in their communities is not translating to the diversity in the jury box. Now, when I say diversity, I am talking about diversity of race. I am also talking about diversity of perspective. And there are 5 different factors that are removing diversity from our jury panels. And I believe the removal of that diversity is also contributing to the removal of our fairness. And I'd be happy to explain those 5 factors in a little bit. The third component is we're trying to strategically think through how we can challenge the current law, which takes a very antiquated approach to assessing and trying to measure or demonstrate that juror discrimination has been taking place as it relates to the government not providing a fair cross-section from which the jury is supposed to be selected. Many of us know that the Sixth Amendment says you have a right to a fair and impartial jury. An essential component of that Sixth Amendment right is what's called a fair cross-section. So if we think about the different wards in Newark, a fair cross-section is going to have from each ward.
I appreciate that. I appreciate how you're saying the 5 different wards in Newark, because he's making sure that he knows that he's speaking to our people right now. And so I appreciate that, because literally someone just asked me this morning, like, how many wards are in Newark? I'm like, well, I think that's an easy question. The North, South, East, West, and Central. So go ahead, Will, my bad.
For the 5 wards, if we want a fair cross-section, I appreciate you reminding me that there's 5. I lived in the North Ward when I lived there, and I forgot about the rest. I apologize.
It's okay. We're not going to hold it against you. We're not going to hold it against you.
But if we want to have a fair cross-section of the community in that jury box, that means we have appropriate representation, not only from all 5 wards, but we're paying attention to the racial demographics of the county. We are paying attention to the gender demographics of the county. And we're also being mindful of the different perspectives that might exist throughout the entire county, and understanding that those perspectives should have access to the power of the jury box for 2 reasons. One, to ensure that the community is accurately represented in that jury box to be part of the conversation of who should be voted guilty and who should be voted not guilty, but also ensuring that the person who was accused of a crime has access to a fair cross-section and an actual jury of their peers.
Yeah. And so that was loaded, and that's amazing. The 3 pillars of the Juror project, and I know the other co-hosts are definitely going to like jump in with different questions. My question right now is going to be regarding what you just had stated in terms of diversity of perspective, because that's important. Because I'm Black doesn't mean I share the same perspective as another Black person, right? And so we can't just put people in buckets just by race alone, make assumptions about that race. Like, all this racial group believes X, Y, and Z. We're not monolithic whatsoever in that regard. And so assessing perspective, like, how do you assess perspective? Because if you want diversity in perspective, like race, that's like a checkbox, right? Like Black check, white check. But how do you assess perspective?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you get a summons in the mail, it says you got to come to court and you got to participate in jury service, and it'll typically be for, I don't know, 2 to 3 week period. In New Orleans, where I am, it's for a 2 week period. Now you are in the jury lounge, and let's say you get called up for a trial that is about to begin. And the first aspect of a trial is what's called jury selection. The other term that's used to describe that is voir dire. And voir dire, or jury selection, represents a conversation that is taking place between the potential jurors and the lawyers in the case. So in a criminal setting, we're talking about prosecution and defense. And during this conversation, the lawyers are trying to ask questions to essentially assess which jurors are going to be good jurors for the case and which jurors might not be so good for the case. When it comes to perspective, I want to use the simple possession of weed as an example. So if somebody is charged with simple possession of weed, a nickel bag of weed, let's say, which in Louisiana is a felony. I believe in New Jersey, I think it's been
legal.
Yeah.
We have dispensaries. You can go. You don't need a car. You can just go there. You just got to be of age.
So let's talk about that comparison in 1 second. But let's rewind maybe 10 years when it was still a crime in New Jersey to possess a nickel bag of weed. If a prosecutor is in front of a jury and lays out a situation of saying, hey, if hypothetically you were to sit on a case where a person is charged with a nickel bag of weed, could you vote guilty? And you might have some people in Essex County that would say, no, I can't vote guilty because it doesn't make sense to be throwing people to prison for a simple possession of drugs. And let's say we're not even just talking about weed. Let's say we're talking about heroin, or we're talking about cocaine, whatever it might be. There are people in our communities who do not believe in utilizing the criminal legal system to punish people who have substance use issues or to punish people for things that are not violent crimes. And if you say that you could not vote guilty because your perspective is the criminal legal system is the inappropriate tool to address people with substance use issues, or said differently, you do not believe the criminal legal system is the appropriate system, perhaps it should be a health system that is addressing this issue, and you say that you couldn't vote guilty, that perspective is not allowed to sit on the jury. So what ends up happening, in my experience, I was a public defender for 5 years, and I'm still taking cases now, is that when we have perspectives that are on the jury that are perhaps more in favor of the community or the person who was charged with the crime, those people don't get represented in the jury box. But if you say you could vote guilty for somebody possessing a nickel bag of weed, you're going to have more easy access to be on that jury box. And my position is that is unconstitutional facilitation of jury selection and the Sixth Amendment, because you are robbing the person who was on trial of a fair cross-section of their community, but you're also robbing them of the peers that exist within their community. And if we want to establish more faith and integrity of our criminal legal system, we should allow all of these perspectives to be represented. Because if we have people who believe in using the criminal legal system to address people with substance use issues, and we have people who do not believe if we have two opposing kind of beliefs, if those are represented on the jury box, and then those opinions are challenging each other in the deliberation room, then we as a community can have more faith in the actual verdict that is met, right? But since we do not allow this diversity of perspective, we actually are not facilitating a fair cross-section, and we are not providing the constitutional right of a jury of your peers.
That's amazing, right? Talk about legal work, legal minds, working within the confines of the Constitution and bring it to light, right? Because the Constitution, when people are dissecting it, is of opinion, and so there's different ways of constructing it and making meaning of it. So from not to say my approach, but just being like a recent law school student, it's just like, all right, so one approach to making this like a policy is just going to the court, right? Like getting like an exemplar case like they did in the civil rights era, right? Getting a exemplar case and then making a claim, going through the courts and asking the courts to render a decision that will be in favor of what you just explained, Will, or you can do the policy aspect. And so in the policy aspect, what would that language look like? Because everything that you just said, you would just want a judge to everything that you just said, just to reiterate it in an opinion, and let that be the law of the land of Louisiana at best. It's in the federal courts, then just the law of the land, and then it goes to the Supreme Court of the U.S. But what would that look like in Louisiana policy, right? Like, what would that language be?
So there's two kind of approaches. We could talk about policy as it is derived from legislation, or we can talk about policy as it is derived from court rules or court practices that are established by the judges. What I believe and what the Juror Project is promoting in an article that I'm writing is that the government should have an affirmative obligation to provide a fair cross-section of the community. And that is as it relates to what is called the veneer panel. And the veneer is the term to represent, let's say, a panel of citizens. Let's say there's 25 people who show up in a courtroom to participate in jury selection. That is your veneer. They haven't been sworn in as jurors just yet. So there's two pieces I need to break out. We have the veneer panel, and then we have the actual pettit jury, the sworn jury. And those are two different things. The case law and the policy.
Now, well, I just want to jump in real quick. So in all states, it's a grand jury and a pettit jury, or is that state by state? Okay, that's all.
Thank you for the question. So there are grand juries and there are pettit juries. Then let me just take a second to explain the difference between the two. The grand jury is the body of people from the community who are deciding whether or not a person should be charged with a crime. So they are the ones who are signing off on what is called a bill of indictment. In the United States, people can be charged with crimes via two different documents. One is called a bill of information. The second is called a bill of indictment. And typically, if it's a more serious charge, the prosecution has to secure an indictment from a grand jury. Now, grand jury service is much longer than serving on a petit jury for a trial. Grand jury service can span weeks or even months. Not that you're going to be sitting every day, but over a 6-month period, you might have to show up every Friday. And during a grand jury proceeding, what is happening is the prosecutor comes in, calls the detective on the witness stand, asks questions about their investigation, and then the grand jury is just listening to the presentation of the evidence that exists at that time in the case. And if the grand jury can ask questions that they'd like to in some circumstances. And if the grand jury is convinced that there's probable cause or sufficient enough information for this charge to actually be sustained and formalized in an indictment, then they will vote. And when they vote, there's two ways. They can vote one way in favor of the indictment, which is called a true bill or true bill of indictment. The other way they can vote is called a no true bill, which is a no true bill of indictment. So if they vote it is a true bill, that person is indicted.
Which is what they do with the police most of the time.
Exactly. And if it's a no true bill, that means that they are not signing off on that indictment. That person is not going to be charged. So it's important. A grand jury grand juries start the case. They decide if somebody should be charged with a crime. The petit jury decides if the person is innocent or guilty of the crime. So the petit jury ends the case. The petit jury is only serving for the duration of the trial. You can have a 1-day trial, a 10-day trial, a 2-week trial, right? There's no kind of guarantee in terms of how long the trial is going to be. Depends on the facts and the evidence in the case. But the petit jury is either going to be, typically ranges between 6 and 12 people. And when they vote either for a guilty verdict or a not guilty verdict. A petit jury has to have a unanimous consensus, meaning all 6 or all 12, however many people are on the jury, they all have to agree. Whereas in a grand jury, in most jurisdictions, it does not have to be unanimous. It's typically like a supermajority or a majority. It depends on the jurisdiction.
Yeah. So where were you when I was studying for the bar? Like,
I was here.
You're right. I was but I'm just saying, where were you when I was studying for the bar?
Give me a cheat sheet. Well, I just seen a documentary on O.J. Simpson's trial. And in that documentary, it kind of stated that Johnny Cochran, they were all about the jury. They wanted to put a lot of emphasis in picking that jury because they knew that, I guess in all cases determine the outcome, but they put a lot. Have you ever seen that documentary or something similar, but particularly about the O.J. Simpson trial?
Yeah, I've seen a few kind of exploring O.J. Simpson's trial, and you're absolutely right. You can win or lose a case in jury selection.
Just on jury selection.
And what's interesting is knowing that is the case. I'm here with the Juror Project to remind people that we have to stop skipping out on jury service. Yes. If in one breath we are complaining about the unfairness of our criminal legal system, and then in the other breath we are talking crap about jury service, like we are continuing to contribute to the problems of our criminal legal system. So A, when you get that summons in the mail, be excited to serve, and B, show up knowing that you can actually have a tremendous impact on a person's life. Now, the O.J. Simpson case is a really interesting case to talk about for a variety of reasons. And I want to just explore for 2 seconds the brilliance of Johnny Cochran, right? In some communities, we talk about O.J. Simpson's case as an example of jury nullification. And jury nullification is a constitutional premise that gives members of the community who are sitting in the jury the power to vote not guilty for somebody, even if the person is factually guilty. And there are a variety of reasons why a jury would do that, and we can get into that in a bit. But the brilliance of Johnny Cochran is he transformed that case not to be about whether or not O.J. Simpson committed the crimes he was accused of. He made the central question in the case of whether or not the community represented by the jury wanted to affirm and condone the racist practices of the Los Angeles Police Department, particularly through Detective Furman, to sustain a conviction and position the jury to understand that if they vote guilty, what they are saying is that we are okay with prosecutions being secured through these racist practices. But if you vote not guilty, we are sending a message to law enforcement in our communities that the type of tactics and mindsets and behaviors used to investigate this particular case is unacceptable, and we are not willing to sanction convictions that are secured through those unethical practices.
Amen. Thank you for that. We appreciate that elaboration. Just really quickly, I want to go back again really quickly about the Juror Project's position on assessing the perspective. And so wasn't sure if you were able to elaborate on the direction, whether it be through the court system and making that into policy or through legislation, and going through legislation, what would that look like, or what the Juror Project hopes for it to look like?
Yes, thanks, because I didn't answer your question. So the policy, from my perspective, is that there should be an affirmative right that the government has to honor and provide for there actually to be a fair cross-section for the veneer panel. So what that means is the jury commissioner, when they're assembling the panel or the veneer of citizens to go up into the courtroom for jury selection, they can certify that that is in fact a fair cross-section as it relates to demographics of race, gender, age, things along those lines. When it comes to perspective, it'd be very difficult to create a policy per se around the representation of perspectives in the actual pettit jury, because the case law says you have a right to a fair cross-section in a jury of your peers, but you do not have a right to a particular juror to serve on your jury. But what jurisdictions have done to provide an easier on-ramp for certain perspectives to make it on the jury is they have created lists of what are called presumptively invalid reasons to strike somebody for the jury. So let me give you an example. Sometimes prosecutors will ask a question: how many of us have had a bad experience or know somebody who's had a bad experience with the police? And naturally, you see Black people and people of color raise their hand. They talk about those bad experiences, and then the prosecutor uses those answers to kick the person off of the jury. So in Washington State and in other jurisdictions, what they have said is that you cannot, it is a presumptively invalid reason to kick a person off the jury simply because they have said they've had a negative experience with the criminal legal system. Now, what that does is it's not quite an on-ramp for perspectives to have to be more diversely represented, but it is an on-ramp for more experiences to be more diversely represented in the jury box. And those diverse experiences can sometimes serve as a proxy for diverse perspectives.
I love that. I appreciate that.
But how does that, I'm sorry, go say, how does that look like if you're the attorney and both of you guys are the attorney, one's defense, one's plaintiff, and you say, raise my hand, 10 of us raise my hands, and you say, I thank and excuse juror number, da. Do you challenge it, or how do you stop it from happening if, in fact, that's not a reason to remove them from the jury?
So if the policy says these 10 things are presumptively invalid reasons to strike the juror, the opposing counsel who suspects that the attorney is striking people in a discriminatory way can raise a challenge. And then if the attorney, let's say it's the prosecutor, who has to explain why they remove that person, if they say I removed that person because they said they had a bad experience with police, the judge is going to say that is an invalid reason and you cannot strike that juror for that reason, right? The framework that I'm loosely referencing, it's called a Batson challenge. And there was a Supreme Court case from 1986.
We've been trying to get that in Mumia Abu Jamal's case for 20 years.
The Batson challenge framework requires first for one of the attorneys, the prosecution or the defense, and Batson also applies in civil cases, but for the criminal context, either the prosecution or the defense, step one is they have to raise the objection and say, Your Honor, we object to the prosecutor striking jurors 3, 7, 9, and 11. They are all Vietnamese Americans. The person that I'm representing is Vietnamese American, and it looks like they're trying to kick all the Vietnamese people off the jury. So step one is raise the objection. Step two, the party that is being challenged, in this example, the prosecutor, has to provide their explanation as to why they struck that person from the jury. So say, Judge, no, I'm not racist. The reason why I struck juror number 1 is because they were falling asleep. The reason why I struck juror number 3 is because they weren't making eye contact with me. The reason why I struck juror number 9 is because they talked about they had a bad experience with the police department.
Mm-hmm.
And then if an attorney says that, the judge is going to say, well, wait a second. You can't strike juror number 9 because of their experiences with the police department. So that is how these policies of creating presumptively invalid reasons to strike jurors from the jury box helps ensure we have diverse experiences, which hopefully brings diverse perspectives. But we should have some caution here. In the same way, in 1986, when we created this Batson framework of trying to root out juror discrimination, prosecutors were specifically trained how to get around the Batson framework. So instead of saying, I'm striking this person because they're Black, or I'm striking this person because they're Asian American, they would make up race neutral reasons to strike the person, and they would still be allowed to discriminate. So let me give you 3 examples of what were offered as race neutral reasons to strike a Black person from the jury. The first example was, Your Honor, we struck this person from the jury because he looks like a drug dealer. Second example, we struck this person from the jury because he shucked and jived when he walked to the witness box. Third example, Your Honor, we're striking this jury because they're too stupid to live, much less be on a jury. These are all quotes from an actual prosecutor. One is from Louisiana, one is from South Carolina. The judge heard those reasons and said, those are technically race neutral, so we're going to grant your strikes. Right. So we have problems with the framework of trying to prevent juror discrimination. And so that's why we still have a lot of work to ensure a jury of peers and a fair cross-section is actually provided.
Wow.
Asia, you cannot book him for half an hour. You know he needs an hour and some.
Fair enough. And because there were a lot of questions that we definitely will want to get in, especially with the state of Louisiana. It has the second highest percentage of Black people in the United States, per capita, but it's a deeply red state without even a chance. Do you think that, well, 2 things. One, we are running out of time, right? But do you think that there's a connection between what you're doing in a juror project and people voting and it being such a deeply red state that may not represent people who are incredibly populous inside of Louisiana?
There's certainly a connection between voting and jury service, right? Those are 2 civic obligations that we have. And in most jurisdictions, when you register to vote, you also have the right to serve on a jury, right? I think there's 5 reasons why we aren't seeing the representation in our jury boxes the way that we should be. But to answer your question, I think Louisiana actually has more Democrats on the voter rolls that are registered than Republicans. But the issue is voter turnout. And we have to think about ways in which we are approaching, deploying new tactics to get people to understand the power of their vote, and some of the old tactics and kind of shaming people. And it's just not working. One, we have to have exciting candidates, and 2, we have to have an understanding of how the policies of that person connect to the lives of the voters in the state.
And I know we have run out of time, and I know that we're going to have to give you back. So Asia, I'll let you close us out.
Yeah, and so one, that's crazy. Who would ever thought that Louisiana has more Democrats, registered Democrat voters than Republicans? Like, who knew? And so, wow. Will, thank you so much for coming on this
pleasure. Thank you for having
Friday
me.
evening on a different time zone. Greatly appreciate you. We've been working this out. I'm happy that I was able to come together. And so, because you were already on All Politics Are Local, instead of asking you the question of like, who is your favorite rap artist? Who are you listening to? What's your favorite rap song, hip hop artist, or if you want to change it up a bit from the last time you were on, talk to us.
Yeah, there is a singer. Her name is Danielle Ponder, and if you have not heard her music, you got to check her out. She actually was a former public defender, and she realized her true passion is singing. And not only does she sing is a beautiful, powerful, amazing voice, but the content of her songs are both a blend of love stories, of passion, of criminal justice. And I listen to her frequently, so I'd encourage you to check her out.
Nice. We appreciate that. And you're putting us on.
Yeah.
You're always putting us on when you're coming on. And so again, thank you so much, Will. We appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
We definitely look forward to they're gonna have you come back on. So
Absolutely.
For an hour. For
Absolutely.
an hour.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
long period of
Thank you
time.
so much, sir.
So have a great one, Will. Thank you, y'all. I
Thanks.
always appreciate y'all.
Bye-bye.
Right, so we definitely appreciate that, and we definitely appreciate him coming on. We were just I'm a debate coach. One of the things that we debated about, or our students were debating about, was whether or not prisoners should have the right to vote, because there's high rates of felony disenfranchisement also in Louisiana. So there are so many different people who could be voters within the community, who are ineligible to vote within the community.
But did
And
you
so that
preface
may
that
also,
with? Did you preface that with in Vermont and Maine they do vote in the prisons?
yeah, they're the only two states. The only
Yeah.
two states that
Hmm.
vote in the prisons are Vermont and Maine, and that often is because they are very, 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 very white.
One more
They're the
very.
white states, right?
One more very.
Right. Right, so welcome, LaMonica McIver. Uh,
Congresswoman.
Hey everyone.
Hey,
Hopefully
how
you
are
guys can
you?
hear me.
No, how are you?
yes.
I'm good. I'm good. You guys know I'm on the run and go all the time, but it is good to see everyone.
You taking your vitamin C? You taking care of you? 'Cause we need you more than
Yeah,
ever.
on most days, yes.
Okay, well, I'm praying for you every day, sis. You know that work is. Whew. Well, go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you, Miss
What do we need to
Balena.
know? What do we got to do? What notes do you need us to take? What's the lesson?
Oh man, I don't know where to start. I'm gonna let Jonathan lead it.
He steps away. Um, while he steps away, Congresswoman, have you done a town hall? And was that town hall turned out by just as many? Because you represent probably the 10th congression. Is it more Democrats than Republicans? And are more Republicans showing up? Does it look different because of the times? How does the town hall look?
Yeah, I
So
apologize. I
we
just had actual technical difficulties. You were saying
That's
town halls?
okay. That's okay, Jonathan. Donna was asking about New Jersey's 10th. Is it, a lot of Democrats and also what kind of town halls have we been hosting? So New Jersey's 10th is one of the most Democratic districts in the country, let alone in New Jersey. So we have obviously way more Democrats here in this district versus some others. We have actually hosted 3 town halls so far. We had 2 tele town halls. One, I mean, most of the time I'm in DC, so I have to host tele town halls. We had
Hmm.
one early on, and then we had another one in collaboration with Rob Menendez from New Jersey's 8th, which me and him actually cover some of the same turf with our districts crossing. And then we just had one last Friday, since you
Hmm.
asked, in West Orange on Medicaid. We had about over 200 residents show up, not just in New Jersey's 10th. They lived all over New Jersey and came to basically hear about Medicaid and, what are some of the proposed cuts to it and what that would look like for us as a state or just individual families in their different capacities. So very much packed. I mean, we definitely have people, fired up and definitely ready to fight back, against some of the things that this administration is proposing and trying to do. And that was a good thing, right? People are ready to mobilize, ready to do all that they can. And, basically was letting us know like they didn't elect Elon Musk, they did not elect Trump to take away much services and things that they needed, although that was the Project 2025 playbook that literally was laid out for for us in advance to the election. So definitely we've been having good feedback and good turnout to our town halls, and we're probably going to be hosting another one within the next week or so, a tele town hall, because we're still in session. To allow people to get on. Our first 2 tele town halls had over 5,000 residents on there, throughout in J10. So people are really, wanting to know what's going on,
Jay.
wanting to be engaged. So
Yeah, I
So
hope it stay fired up to the midterm elections. And I know the governor did one on a Medicaid as well. But Jonathan, go ahead. You're back.
yeah, like you have been in, you got to Congress in a very, very wild time.
Hmm.
What has it been like?
It has been absolutely crazy. I did not expect Congress to be like this. Obviously, we all hoped for. I know I did. I'll speak for myself. Hoped for a different turnout on November 5th, and that did not happen. And so, here we are dealing with the trifecta GOP government, a Republican government, and it has just been extremely difficult. Coming from City Council, I talked about this in my one-on-one with the Globe this week about how different it is, from being on the local level to now being at the federal level, and how on the local level you're just getting things done. Each and every day you're working hard, you're working fast, and things are just a little different. And in Congress, it's like things are super slow. There's no priority for some things. The system there is very much different. Like there's no urgency. And me, I'm like running around with skates on, like, oh my God, let's hurry up, let's get it done. And it's like, that's what the American people want us to do, get things done and fix their issues, fix their things that are impacting their families. And it's just like, okay, we'll get to that. Like, it's a process. It's this, and the processes are just slow from, I think, the way people want you to show up and show out, on their behalf. And that's just a systematic piece of Congress, right? And how things work that are ancient in some ways, but at the same time, it's just a slower piece. I think since January 20th, it has been even more nutty. I actually, and I'm grateful that I went to Congress in September and I was able to experience the previous administration versus now. Since January 20th, it has been like hell freezing over. Literally, we're drinking from a fire hose because every hour on the hour, we're waiting for some news that we got a tip from, via Twitter or whatever the president might have tweeted out for the day, or some insider leaked something. And we're like, oh my God, that's going to be signed today, any executive order, all of these different things that are coming out of the White House. And you're just trying to prepare in advance for that. So it's just really like super crazy, and it's hard to believe that the president and this Republican ran government can operate like this, can operate so unprofessionally, so ineffectively, just unhinged, on many days. So that is exactly what it's like each and every day, and what it's been like since January 20th.
It's interesting because it seems like even though there is chaos, that they're very organized and that they are
Organized chaos.
extremely deliberate, and they have an agenda and they're following their agenda and they're sticking with it. The frustration that you probably see among many people who are like, wait, what are they doing? Is that it doesn't seem like there's anything like organized. There was the backlash against Schumer for voting against the voting to keep the government going. What are the thoughts about what will happen in the long term? What is the strategy in the long term, and what do we want?
So I will give you my personal perspective of what the long term is. And I mean the long term as in until the end of the year. Things are happening and they're crazy as all hell. Like, I mean, these things we're seeing, we're just like, can't even believe our eyes. And I think many people, even across red states, are lashing out. They're pissed the hell off, and they have the right to be pissed off. And these are just like things that some of these things that we're expecting to come, especially with the cuts and things to Medicaid. But I think all of the firings, veterans losing their job, veteran services being, eliminated. People are just so pissed around many different issues. And I think Republican leaders are getting the brunt of that. So much that once again they told,
At the local level.
I'm sorry, what
At
happened
the
now?
local level. I'm just emphasizing at the local level why that's important.
Exactly. So they're getting very, very pissed about what is happening. And these Republican Congress members have even been told, like, don't host town halls, don't give anything publicly, like stay out of the public's eye, don't be in this space, don't be in that space, because they're catching the brunt of that, a lot. And I think that at some point, because you only need 3, it's a very slim margin right now in the House, to change their perspective. They're going to say, like, look, I was with you, bro. Like, I was with you, Trump, like, for these amount, for this, like, but now I can't do this anymore. Like, I cannot do this. Like, I'm getting ripped in my district. People are pissed off. I think we see how pissed off people are because we saw what just happened in that Senate race in Pennsylvania, which in a very strong Republican district, they voted for a
You got
Democrat and
Democrat,
elected a
right?
Democrat. People are very pissed off, and that's going to change the landscape of many local elections, in many of these districts. But at the end of the day, I just think that some Republicans are going to say, look, this is the stop here. Like, I can't go with you any longer. This is it. And it's going to be closer to 2026, which is another election year, because they don't want to be voted out and they don't want to say anything too early because they don't want Trump and Elon Musk to vote them out. And so that is like what my perception is, because you hear them whispering, in the hallways about the things that Trump is doing. And they're like, oh, that was crazy. And I'm like, say that out loud, to speak out about it. They know it's crazy, but it's like they're scared themselves to speak out about these things. So I just think there's going to be a turn of tide because like they can't go with all of this craziness. Not all of them are in these MAGA loving places, and even if they are, so some of these folks are like, look, I didn't vote for this. Like, I voted for this guy, but I didn't vote for this. What he
I voted for cheaper eggs.
correct. So I just or I voted for the economy, or I voted for these things that Trump said he was going to make my life better, and their life has not been better yet. Like, it's actually getting worse, for them, especially around cost and everything else. And nothing that Trump has done to this day has made Americans' lives better. Nothing. They don't have more money in their pocket. The average working family, nothing has been better for them. Nothing, except for if you are a billionaire or a millionaire already and you are his friends, things have been better for you, but not for American working people.
If you can make that call. And is it the corner store, LaMonica? The eggs are like last week they were $13.99. This week they're $12. That's just and I know.
I mean, literally at ShopRite, eggs are $9.99. So I mean, it's $10 literally at a big place like ShopRite with multiple different kind of eggs, and that depends on which egg you buying. Like you want to get a little fancy on them. I mean, it's like $10, So it's definitely crazy out here.
Sorry about and Congresswoman. I'm sorry for calling you by your first name. What I do notice though, and even Secretary of State, he's not an elected official. He's no longer, he's an appointed elector, but he has been kind of close, like even with the national security issue. Nobody said, nah, nobody did this. He actually said somebody made a mistake. And I think there was rumors that it may have been people from his team that leaked when things happened around when President Zelensky was there. So to your point, some people have to go back and look in people's face. And I think he's one of them when he goes back to his community, because Secretary of State looked like, oh gosh, I don't even want to speak anymore when he gets up to the mic. He just seems so frustrated.
He's also getting people locked up who have no business being locked up.
That he definitely is
dangerous, and we need to be really, really clear about that. And not
with the second student
whatsoever, right?
With the student at Tough College now, right? So now you have the brother, and they both went to Louisiana. So they must have what's going on with the Louisiana that they're trying to get people to Louisiana. Is that one of the places that's doing more cooperation and so on and so forth?
Well, Louisiana is home to the hub, so. Basically, right now they have like 3 hubs where they have more capacity for, ICE individuals that they're trying to deport. So they send them there. So on our side, we're actually limited in bed numbers here, in this region, shall I say. So they book them to Louisiana, which ultimately they go to, they can go to Florida. It's like a spot in Florida, and also in Alexandria, Virginia, where they basically get them geared up to be deported. But that, that depends. But in terms of holding space, we just don't have that much holding space here. That's why you see them trying to, open up Delaney Hall, and then this new situation with Union County Jail. They're trying to get. Well, Union County Jail is going to put out a bid. I mean, people project that ICE is going to try to bid on it to be able to give them more flexibility of, housing individuals here.
We had a big rally around that last night, and
yes, I saw
at
that.
Elizabeth, and the mayor showed up for the people too. By the way,
yes, and I actually had posted that today about it. I mean, I think New Jerseyans are not, the bottom line is New Jerseyans are not welcome into ICE. We do not want ICE in our communities. We are home to many migrant families. And we do not want it. I mean, we don't. Like, we don't want jails in our communities, period. And we definitely do not want ICE here. So I think people are very, there's a lot of synergy around that. And many organizations, many unions, many electeds are, speaking out about that. And that's why I spoke out about Delaney Hall and definitely now about Union County. And we'll continue to do so.
And I think it was a town, was that South Jersey when they locked up the owner for the restaurant? The mother, she had the taco, the mother, and the town got together and they just was like, every day it was just like, and the local leaders.
She actually was released too. She ended up being
Yes.
released. That was like down by the shore.
Yeah.
She had a small business there and had been there for years. So
And it was the letter writing. It was definitely a lessons in civics and engagement because they did letters. I know they were like overwhelmed their system, what they didn't expect. So that was a good lesson in how do we respond as the people.
Yeah, but I think Baba brings up something even more deeper. It's a deeper situation because anytime you can have these people, this president basically revoking people's green card, revoking their visas, saying that it's no good and that you will send them back, you will deport them without any just cause, like without any due process. Trying to do that it's a violation, period, of human rights, of our civil rights. And today it's someone else, but tomorrow it will be you. It will be us. And I think that's something we definitely have to really focus in on. That's why so many people have a lot of energy around it because, looking at folks and being like, oh, that's them. That ain't me. No. It's them today, you tomorrow. And I think, even thinking like that, that's a sign of white supremacy, thinking, oh, that's them over there. I don't know what's going on, but it ain't going to be me. No, it can be you too. These people are breaking all rules and all, doing whatever they want to do, telling judges to go to hell because they don't want to, provide information. They're very dangerous and we should not play with them.
And I know because you think about them doing it to college students. College is where you get this awakening, you participate, you put your name on the line.
It's a rude awakening now.
Well, yeah, it is. But I mean, and you go from this shift from being at home and then you come and you start signing up and finding your own voice. And now it's illegal to find your own voice. So yes.
I like that you mentioned, you started mentioning this is how white supremacy works. And when we see the attack on the Smithsonian, we see the welcome of South Africans, of white South Africans, and the rhetoric over and over again. It seems like this is a cultural white nationalist movement. How does that feel in Congress? Do you see or sense it? And how is it that you're able to work through that?
I mean, you definitely sense it each and every day. I mean, you're dealing with, racism all the time. People just feel like they can say whatever comes up and out their mouths. I mean, literally, I see it all the time, sitting, on Homeland Security, because in their mindset, sometimes, especially people who are, in charge, they believe our problems here in this country is all wrapped around immigrants. I mean, which is absurd, of them thinking like that. But I think, at the end of the day, it is just a tough space to be in, and you're constantly fighting each and every day. It's like we have this administration that is strictly against Blackness and people of color. Like that is what is on the line each and every day, what we're fighting to exist, for our history to exist, for us to exist. And it's actually, disgusting and unfortunate that in 2025, we're in a space like this, but each and every day you see another attack, where Trump says he loves us all, but no, he only loves people that look like him, not us, and not people of color. And so it's definitely, it's a crazy time.
And the craziest part is that I don't think he loves people who look like him. Like, if you look at the actual policies that help poor people and the things that he's hurting farmers, he's hurting poor people. It's kind of like white nationalist in culture, but it is not one that actually seeks to help people. I always say that nobody kills poor white people like rich white people. And it seems like this is a thing that is going on now as well, because the programs he cuts are hurting the states that are the poorest, and the poorest of the states are the reddest of the states.
Exactly. This is true. This is true. That is definitely, true. But I think also too, going back to like just seeing the attacks on, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I speak from that perspective of just how everything, seems to be a problem for him that involves diversity, equity, and inclusion. We talk about the situation with the leaked signal chat. Had that been someone of color, or a woman, he would be like, oh, they need to be fired. They are incompetent. They're disgusting. That's his favorite word. At the end of the day, it's okay for them to leak these war plans, and they did nothing wrong. Oh, it wasn't that serious, or they're just blowing it off, let alone, if it would have been someone else that did not look like them who did this, it would be a big problem. So, that's a lot of his rhetoric, once again,
And
multiple times a day.
you were probably there because you said September, so it was before the Secretary of Defense, our previous Secretary of Defense, because he probably forgot or it was a medical reason, didn't tell the president that he was going in for surgery.
Oh, yeah,
They
that was before me, but yes, I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're
So
talking
yeah,
about.
he was sitting, they called for him to be fired because he didn't say about a personal matter that didn't affect anybody's life. I'm sure he probably put people in place. He just didn't have the conversation with President Biden or do that protocol. But now here's something that could potentially affect our soldiers and everybody else, but nobody should be fired. So yeah, it's definitely different. But John was brought up about the executive order about the Smithsonian and that the vice president is to go in there and look at the language and make sure it's more patriotic and you're thinking about things that have went because you're probably not even doing a lot of voting or legislation and everything because these executive orders are pouring out as opposed to going through the proper channels of voting. It's just, is there where are we at with the about the Smithsonian and what the vice president is supposed to be changing the language or anything? Have we come up with any plans about that?
I mean, right now we put out statements about it that just came out today,
Hmm.
about the Smithsonian, making sure that there's American ideology. I don't, whatever that means, from out of this man's mouth. But I know the CBC, we had a conversation about it today. We put out, the Congressional Black Caucus put out a statement on it. I mean, once again, just craziness, crazy, racist, unhingedness coming from the White House. That's what we can expect from them each and every day, multiple times a day. It's like they don't even go to sleep. You see these executive orders in the middle of the night, being dropped. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And once again, none of this is helping American people. You still going to buy those $10, $15 eggs tomorrow morning when you go and run your errands because nothing is helping. All this is craziness, distractions, foolishness coming from the president, that is dangerous and nothing of helping anyone. Rent is still high as hell. You still can't buy a house. Your insurance is still crazy. Nothing to help you.
And I'm a debate coach, and we teach, our kids civics. And when we're teaching them how to deal with a lot of these arguments, it seems like what you're dealing with is that the executive branch has taken away the power of the purse from Congress.
Congress,
Like
right?
like the president is literally cutting programs, cutting grants.
Hmm.
How are other members of Congress? I'm talking about even the Republicans that you talk to on that you talk to privately. How do they feel about his attempt to actually gut Congress and their programs and stuff that will hit their states?
So, I mean, I think even from the other side, people feel some type of way about it. I think we've seen people be more vocal on the Senate side, Republicans, to say, we should not allow the president to have this type of power. Like, it takes away our job and our responsibility, regardless if you're a Democrat, independent, or Republican. And it's basically unconstitutional. We have laws written on purpose. Like this is what the we're supposed to be following. And basically, he's trying to strip that away and change that at the stroke of a Sharpie pen in his office. And, many people say this should not be happening, but I just see people being more vocal on the Republican Senate side versus in the Republican House side. I think people, members of the House are just whispering about it, Republicans, instead of being super vocal about it. And they just feel like they keep hiding underneath, oh, this is the president's agenda. We have to support his agenda. Well, his agenda was to wipe out Congress. Like, that's what you support? Because that's what's happening. He's not even having enough decency to come to you and legislate, for you to do your job. Like, if you want to support the president's agenda, then this president should be giving you all the, what the agenda is, and you should be the least moving that through Congress, because that's the proper channels of what is supposed to happen, versus him just signing his Sharpie pen every night multiple times and doing what he wants to do, thinking he can do what he wants to do. So, to me, like I said, this goes back to my first point about how the craziness, like, I just think there's a limitation to how much they will be able to swallow, especially when those cuts start to hurt and they start to impact. And they already are. Like, some of these cuts are already hurting some of our organizations who service our most needy population. They're unable to draw down funding. They've gotten, messages already from the administration saying that these programs are being cut and no more funding's coming in and grants are being cut. These types of things are going to start trickling down, and people are going to feel them even harder, especially when you talk about cutting Medicaid and Social Security, all of these things that are under attack. And so, to me, it's only a certain limit that they can continue to support this circus of a administration.
Congresswoman, Resident Billy Hathaway just asked, and you had already stated it probably before he came on, anything about Medicare, and you mentioned that you just had a town hall last Friday on Medicare. So will you be doing anything going forward? Doing anything, and the governor did one today. Are you doing anything? Do you have anything scheduled going forward? And that was one question. And do you have anything going forward?
So we are planning on having another town hall, a town hall, within the next week or so. We haven't announced the date, but I would encourage the residents to make sure that you're following us on social media, following me. I'm at LaMonica, at Rep LaMonica on all platforms, from Blue Sky to X to Facebook. And Instagram. We also have a newsletter that you can visit at MacGyver.gov. To find information. You can sign up for our newsletter, where we put out every week about what is happening, what is going to be happening, and any events that are going to be taking place.
And you said did you do at the legislative conference in September? You got there in September, so were you able to do anything, or you're gearing up for this year?
What legislative conference?
The Congressional Black Caucus in September?
No, I was sworn in after that. I was sworn in September 22nd. So that was after. I mean, definitely we'll obviously be engaged in this September 2025 in the CBC. I was present for the CBC conference because I go every year. I've been going every year, even as the council president for the city of Newark. But definitely look forward to, hosting and seeing folks down for this September.
Okay. And so all roads lead, and we will be talking about that leading up to September, how we can come and make sure we pack those sessions and get information, and how we can speak to you directly. And that's where we have to be, where you're doing the town halls, where we can get in front of you and ask and help with legislation and tweak it and just be engaged and make sure.
It won't take that long, Ms. Donna. You can see.
No, I'm not. I'm saying up until then, we have to say.
Like, I'm always out here and about, so you can catch me out here in these streets literally each and every day. I'm not like fluffing around DC when I can be back here in my district. I don't know why people don't like going home to their district, but I am able to be here.
Well, everybody don't have a district like yours.
This is true. New Jersey 10th is special. But definitely there will be many more opportunities for residents to engage with me all the time. We try to be very visible. In many of the work my office does pop-up hours, each and every week. Next week we're going to be in Irvington. That's part of our new scheme to being able to bring the congressional office to your doorsteps, to your community. New Jersey 10th covers 18 cities. So definitely we always pick the opportunity to be in different town halls and libraries in different municipalities, so people can come, right over to see us. We help with any services for federal agencies that folks are trying to navigate, especially immigration. We've seen our cases pick up drastically, but anything, with passports, you name it. People ask us about everything, and we're able to try to help navigate and point them to the right resources. So look for the next, office pop-up hour. Team McIver will be there, and you can come visit us.
I was going to wait
Okay,
to
well,
say this later, but I'm going to say it while you're here. We wanted to stop and take a moment for your city attorney, Kenyatta Stewart. He lost his dad, and he posted it today. And if you ever see that when people do the work, it's not one person, it's a team of people. Your city attorney, that is somebody special who gets the work done, who shows up, who writes beautiful legislation that we all just want to take, so we just want to send love to him and the family during this time and letting them know that we're here for him.
Absolutely. Shout out to Kenyatta Stewart and definitely to the Stewart family. Condolences to them. And also shout out to Kenyatta Stewart, who's running for assembly. Hello.
okay.
Yes. So you guys got to have him on the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So thank you. Well, question. You've been here like so many different times, and we always ask the same question, right?
Hakeem is here. I gotta let him do it.
Yes, yes, yes.
I only get to see Hakeem once a year. That's at 24 hours
And
apiece.
that's
I don't
not
know where he be
that's
another
not a
time.
good thing. We got to fix that. I'm working hard to make sure we connect the bridges. So hip hop is in the building, no doubt, on all politics or local. So what artists are you into? What are you listening to when you need some superhero theme music to get you through when you fighting these battles in the halls of Congress and you need to plug in to charge that hip hop battery? Who you rocking with?
So every week it's something different. Sometimes it's every day, depending on what do I need. This week I've been really tuned into Big X the Plug. I mentioned that one day to somebody this week. They're like, "Yo, I forgot the Congresswoman listens to Big X the Plug." I do listen to Big X the Plug. He has one of a good song that I like, which is "Change Me," which is a good thing. So y'all check out Big X the Plug. I know y'all like some legendary stuff up here all the time. I always joke and hike with Mayor Baraka about this because he's like, "Who you listening to?" Like, I'm listening to Rakim. I'm like, that is good for you. But once again, I'm listening to something more on my side of the
No, but Big X the Plug is the new legend. He's the new legend. So it's all good.
So yeah, that's definitely who I'm rocking with on the hip hop side. I think the last time I was on the show a couple of months ago, I had said that I was really listening to some Nina Simone. Wasn't even no hip hop, like to try to get me through the times. But definitely this week, definitely Big X the Plug. Next month it might be something different.
Okay.
It's gonna be Mustard. Like I turned on DJ Mustard. I was like, okay, Mustard's doing a lot of work out. I was like, okay, Mustard is interesting.
Well, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Okay. Hip hop culturally needs to step up and represent and assist what you guys are doing. What's happening right now is very dangerous, and not to be played with. And we need to utilize the tools that we have. And culturally, hip hop needs to be a tool for the good work that you guys are doing. So, any advice that do you have for hip hop artists and how they can assist?
I mean, I 100% agree, Hakeem. I think it's like everybody's job to be engaged and be involved and to be using their platform to be able to educate people, inform them, and engage. We have been taking this new perspective from the Democratic Party as well as like Congressional Black Caucus to be able to engage a lot of influencers, right? A lot of people who people watch on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is known for the most, visible. I want to say the most social platform that people are engaged in per the data that they share. And so we've been trying to get like social influencers to be involved in things of that nature. And we definitely need hip hop artists and anybody with some influence, honestly, to help us, help us get the messaging across, help us to engage people. I think there are a lot of people who are engaged and informed, but there are still a lot of people that aren't. Like they are not tuned in. They don't understand how serious some of this stuff is. We've seen some artists, speak out and use their platforms, especially around the stuff with the Kennedy Center, and all of those changes that happened there. Him literally stripping the arts, the diversity in arts, at the Kennedy Center. But I just think we need more of that, and we need all hands on deck and all sleeves rolled up during this time. So I think, you know, the hip hop artists should be using their platform. They have millions of people following them. I mean, literally just putting out something that say Donald Trump ain't SHIT is a lie. Like, you know, even if you want to take it to that point, you know, and people like, well, why you say that? Well, let's get into it. You know, let me bring in this person to talk about like why he ain't blah 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 blah. You know, so to me, I just think there's so much opportunity, and I really hope people start to get in with this fight that we are in and help us. You know, because we need all help. I tell folks all the time, people feel so defeated. They're so stressed and, you know, about they turn on CNN. You think you just turning on the news just to see what the weather is today. And you get all of this bad news coming out of the White House and coming out of Washington, D.C. And people are stressed. Like they are exhausted and tired. But the power is still with the people. It's still with the people. It always will be
Power
with
to the
people,
people.
even
That's
in
right.
this most difficult time. And we have to use our voices, use every tool we have to fight against this because we won't be here for long. Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel to get past this. We know people have been hurt. They will be hurt through this administration, and those folks will continue to mobilize and fight against this. And so we'll be doing more of a mobilization, you know, trainings and things of that nature of how we get together and we fight back against this. And we see some wins happening. We see courts and
The
judges
courts.
ruling in favor, you know, of these organizations, these unions and things, you know, against these hurtful policies that Trump is putting down. So there is victory, you know, to be won. We're not being defeated. And now we're dealing with the situation where Trump is basically saying, F a judge. Like, I ain't listening to no judge. Like, you know, you need to be impeached. You going against us. Like, what you mean a judge need to be impeached? Like, no. Like, you know, we're seeing these things happen. And so that's the next battle and the next fight against this with him, you know, basically disobeying a judge's orders. So I just want to encourage people.
But
Like, you
Congressman, when you walk out, you do still see people, they're mobilizing. You do see people down there.
I
Right.
mean, literally, I was on my way today inside of the federal building to go, you know, meet with ICE about all of the craziness that they got going on. And I mean, you know, POP, baby, I don't know if Baba was out there, but they was having a whole rally. And I know he had to be there. I know he must have been there. And I kept telling my
I
team,
was there. That's
let's,
right.
I kept telling my team, like, let's hurry up here so I could go ahead and get down
Mahmoud
the street.
Khalil's case was brought to Newark, and we packed the place, and we had the streets turned up.
Absolutely. So people, I mean, you see people they're protesting at Tesla dealers. I mean, the vice president, he tried to go on vacation. They was outside his vacation home protesting. People are just not laying down and taking this, and they will not. It will continue to grow.
Yeah.
Right.
When he got elected the first time, actually when he was campaigning, I knew what it was. I was around for Central Park 5, so I already know what it was with this guy. I enlisted my son on a record called Dump Trump. And I think Baba Zai just put it in the comments. I'll make sure you see that. Maybe that could be a part of your superhero music.
Right. We need to
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
We're bringing Hakeem to see. We bringing him down in September. You'll see more of him in all. You're gonna see him now in August and then in September.
And 24 Hours of Peace is live and direct, September 5th and 6th.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll be there.
Save the date.
Excellent.
And thank you so much, Congresswoman. Always great having you on. Always really great having you on in these like real interesting times because we really value perspective and seeing like just some of the stuff that happens behind the scenes as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, always an honor to have you on.
No, thank you, and I will see you all next month.
Yes, we'll see you on April 11th.
See you guys.
Yes. Take care.
Bye, Baba. Smile.
Hey.
That Lorenz Tate? No, that's not Lorenz. I thought that was Lorenz Tate. I'm sorry.
Let me give my brother his proper introduction. We are very, very, very honored to have this next guest. He is, I'm a debate coach. This is an amazing debate coach from Little Rock Central in Arkansas. He is a nationally known figure in high school debate. He is a person who I respect very, very deeply, look up to the stuff he's done, the stuff that he's that he does with his program and his students. Honored to work with him. over the summer, and he has really been about that life in terms of his commitment to his students, his commitment to his students with integrity, and the integrity that is there with us, right? Our history, our culture, all that. This is the stuff that he does on a regular basis, and he is actually taking in a real way. We just were on with Congresswoman talking about what's happening in Congress. He's in Arkansas, and the stuff that we teach, the stuff that I teach
Little Rock,
for students, right?
Central.
The stuff that I teach students, the stuff that he teaches students is outlawed in many places. If I was going to teach what I taught in Florida, in Texas, I would not be able to teach that. I would be fired. But I have the luxury of teaching in Newark, where Raz Baraka is the mayor, whose father was a Mary Baraka. So I could teach what I want, right? The that is tougher in Arkansas, where literally Colton Gilbert is engaged with the AP African American Studies teacher to sue the state of Arkansas to be able to teach authors and critical race theory and the Black radical tradition to high school students and high school debaters. Welcome, talk to us. What's going on, and who's stopping you from teaching the works that you teach?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a blessing and a pleasure to be here with you all. Like you said, I teach at Little Rock Central. It's my 12th year overall. I think 7th at Central itself. A few years ago, they passed what was called the LEARNS Act. It's an acronym. I forget what this stands for, but it spells out LEARNS. In Section 16 of the bill, states that teachers in Arkansas cannot teach critical race theory or critical race theory related theories, is what they called it. But they never really gave kind of like a disclaimer or a not disclaimer, but like a bright line of what that constituted or what that included or excluded. It was just super vague. And so the AP African American history teacher, Miss Ruthie Walls, who was great, love her. She and a few of her students initially started the suit, joined on a little later, and from we have perspectives from the kids about their access to information, and also the chilling effect from us of being able to teach First Amendment viewpoint discrimination and things like that. So we're suing. So it's Walls et al. V. Sanders. So we're suing the state of Arkansas. We had an injunction not too, a few months ago, and Judge Radofsky functionally said that the injunction only applied to myself and Ms. Walls, functionally because we were the only ones that brought a suit. But part of our argument, obviously, is that there's a chilling effect, that there may be people who may feel uncomfortable teaching that based on the law, because you could put your job and my teaching license in jeopardy. So that's functionally what we are facing, which for me hits me twofold. One, in the classroom, being able to teach. I teach section, I call it the crash course on race. We kind of go over a few things. So we go over critical race theory. We look at, things about like anti-blackness, settler colonialism. We look at like capitalism and how it applies to like sometimes like a racial lens. It's never kind of like you force kids to think things, or indoctrinate them is the word they like to use, but it's more so that they need access to that information to be able to make value assessments, right? Because at the end of the year, coming up, we do what's like a student congress. And so I have them write bills and stuff. So the idea is for them to try to write bills that don't replicate the same sort of structural things that we've sort of discussed, if they believe in them or not, whatever the case may be. But the second part in terms of competition is a lot of the arguments that my kids read are even, Jonathan will tell y'all, like, covers the gamut of a multiplicity of arguments, from Asian identity arguments for some of my students that are Chinese American, to the blackest of black arguments from my black students that want to read, and literally everything else in between. So, you kind of have a conversation with the kids when the law first got passed, and was like, do we want to toe the line, or do we want to be criminals? Just kind of where it
And
was.
and
So
it's
that's mhm.
and it's difficult not to be a criminal, right? Like
Yeah,
because if you teach James Baldwin, you might be a criminal, right?
yeah,
You teach Toni Morrison, you might be a criminal. And
definitely.
you Right. If you teach Frank Wilderson, you're definitely a criminal, right? Like, so you don't even have a list of authors that you can and cannot teach. You don't know whether and all of these authors are very different. They disagree with one another, right?
Yeah.
You can't teach Tommy Curry or Brittany Cooper, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's like people who disagree, black people, people in the radical tradition, people who are current or contemporary who disagree with one another, you are literally scared to teach all of it. Now you said that there was an injunction. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah. So
And
the
Mr. I just want it should be noted your governor is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I see the acronym, but we don't have to go
yeah.
with that. But that should be noted. Trained and sent down. I'm
Huckabee,
sorry. Go
that's
ahead.
not
Just with the injunction. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What are you gonna say?
No, you're
Was
good. I
I?
did bury the lead there. I'm sorry. So the Learns Act, the section 16 says that you cannot teach that. The injunction functionally says that Ms. Walls and myself are able to teach these things, right? So like until it plays out whether we have standing, because it's been appealed to the eighth. So we won our injunction, so we were allowed to teach it. So last school year, when we won our injunction, I kind of rushed the unit in for my oral communication classes. And then this year, since I knew the whole year I had it, I was able to kind of like lesson plan from the jump to kind of set us up. We just finished it probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, the race unit in all of my classes. So the injunction allows us to teach it now, and until
But
it kind
just
of
the two of you.
yeah,
It's
because we were the only
just
two
the
that
two of
kind of
you.
that brought suit though, right? So like there weren't other people in the state. I think, and that's where we kind of get at with the chilling effect, right? That like you
Mm.
don't know if like you're putting your job on the line. You don't know if you'll face retaliation. Not everybody has a principal that is, supportive, like myself and Miss Walls, who like, who understands the moment, who understands the school, the site of, school
Right.
desegregation in Little Rock now. So she gets it. And so I think that like not a lot of people have that. They may be afraid of what may happen in their school district. It's a deep red state here. So and maybe there's just not a lot of people that put that in their repertoire to teach in the first place, right? So either A, it was preemptive of something that they didn't know was out there, or B, it was like targeted for certain people or certain things that were out there that they didn't like. I don't know what, I'm not going to say either way, but I do think that like it's part of the culture war. Now we're wrapped up in it, and it implicates my classroom and my debaters.
Mm.
big time, I'm sure. Let me ask you this, little brother, and I just want to say I'm very proud of you too, because
Thank you.
we need a new generation of teachers to come forward the way you all come forward. And I want to put a pin in this particular question. You also out front on the labor front, right? And the teachers' unions are not only some of the biggest in the country, but also going to be one of the most pivotal in this historical moment. How is your labor union supporting you in this fight?
So look, I'll be frank. Our state has gone
Mm.
through, I guess, the last 10, 12, 15-ish years have just been stripping teachers' unions of laws. There was a bill, I think it got passed, that public service unions had certain access, but the teacher unions in the state were excluded. And I think not this past legislative session, but the session before, they functionally made it illegal to like be considered a union. So that's kind of like where it is. But they're supportive. I mean, I'm not gonna, like we have the LREA, the Little Rock Educators Association, which is like, but they're supportive. I'm not gonna say that like they don't support us. They help us out and do what it is, but they're so extended fighting the fight on that end and getting in the legislature and keeping them from, they're keeping them from passing bills and that kind of stuff. I mean, they recently just banned, they passed a personal device ban, which in theory is cool, right? But there are kids in our buildings that have like personal computers that like a Chromebook or a MacBook, they may not be as efficient on. So yes, we should do something about cell phones, but we overcorrect and now like put in a system where like, education might be a little different. So I think that like they're so busy extended fighting so many fronts that we lost their Fair Teacher Dismissal Act. So, they got their hands tied. But so it's not a question of like they don't support us. I think I've got nothing but like, support, we're rooting for you, this, that, and the third, but it's really just like literally everybody is, holding together with like glue and tape, trying to like keep fighting, I guess is what's going on
And
down here.
and and it seems like some of the theories that you teach explain that, right? Like in terms of, and as you already know, right? Like in the deeper red states, the ability to unionize, especially to do
It's
public
minimal.
sector unions,
Right.
Yeah.
is very minimal, right?
Very
It is
hostile.
and deliberately minimal.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of my students, I'm not gonna say his name, but one of his arguments on the topic in November and December, well, excuse me, September, October, it was about like organizing and labor, and he started with the narrative about the Elaine massacre here in Arkansas and how a bunch of sharecroppers tried to unionize, and the federal government treated them as insurrectionists and mass slaughtered hundreds of them, and you know, so like those are the conversations that like we're trying to have that like get redacted out, and I think that's what's important is that like kids deserve access to that and knowing like what's important to them because the past obviously informs the future, or else they wouldn't be trying to redact that out currently in our faces in real time. I mean,
Right.
so.
Jonathan, we can't hear you.
You're muted, John.
The Elaine massacre.
Some people say
There you
that if
go.
you
Wait,
some people say that if you try to if you don't know the future, if you don't know the past, you're going to repeat it. But really, in here, it's if you try to keep other people from learning the past, you want to repeat it. Like that's the goal.
Yeah.
It and it's interesting because you're talking about these massacres. When I was going down to West Virginia, predominantly white, and then looking up some of the basic history of union organizing, and they were just murdering poor white people, like rich people just straight murdering poor white people when they were trying to unionize and get a couple of pennies or a little bit more money for breathing in coal-based air. And so this is the stuff that you are teaching and are trying to teach in terms of the actual history of Arkansas that is objectionable. What's the reaction been with other teachers outside of your school? Have you interacted with other teachers outside of your school and what their issues are? Like, there are other people who were scared to join the suit, or how's that been?
Yeah, I think the people, I mean, there's not a lot of, well, not every school offers debate. The way the frameworks are written in Arkansas is kind of, a little loose in terms of like that teacher can sort of specialize the class and like what they're good at in terms of debate or whatever. So I think it doesn't really apply to a lot of teachers that don't want to teach that. I think the people that it didn't apply to, they're supportive. I don't think I've ever really gotten like pushback or if I said something. I mean, I think actually one or two times actually do come to mind where where it's come up in like conversation organically, and they kind of their energy changes. But I mean, who cares about that? But other than that, I have had conversations with people that feel like their class would or could be implicated based on where they focus, like how they teach the civil rights movement or things that they talk about in their U.S. history classes and stuff, but they didn't necessarily feel like they had standing or ground or they were worried about things happening to them. So I think that's part of it too. Or some people just don't want to put their name out there or don't want to be a John Doe or Jane Doe. So I get it. But I think the majority of people that it is probably applicable to, they probably have some reservation or pause that I will not attempt to explain for them.
Okay, fair
Or
enough.
even the whole fact of you get like you grow and you know better and you do better, but then once you know and then you keep teaching that you're blatantly going to the classroom and you're teaching things that are not true. That's not helpful to anybody. And then on a global, we look like, that's one of the things that's shunned upon us is that we rather teach false things rather than educate facts and go from there.
Yeah, and in part, right? Like I teach at a school that I was not allowed to be in 50, 60, or 60, 70 years ago, right? Like that is not lost on me. That when I go to museums, like my girlfriend and I just went to National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis and we were walking around and there was a part about Central. And we both kind of like were like, kind of take it for granted that you kind of teach there. So I have to be able to explain the history of the school while also giving language to why is it that the 9th Street, which is a very sprawling black neighborhood here in Little Rock, what happened to it? Why did it disappear? Well, because they destroyed it and put the freeways through it. That's why. Right? Like I can't. Right.
Like
So
it
are
did
you telling me
78
that
here in Newark.
yeah. So are you telling me that like, so if you live north of 630 or south of 630, your life is completely different. So I think that like that and not being able to sort of connect it is bad for the children. Like they need to be able to make sense of the world around them. And it's not to say like this is the end all be all. It's not to say that I want them to think a certain way. Is that when I got older, this gave me a way to explain to myself or be able to be like, this could explain why these people are always marginalized in this way. This could explain why there are certain expectations on me. It doesn't mean that it's always true. It doesn't mean that it's, whatever. It just gives me a way to make sense of the world around me, and people need that.
And I think people don't understand that education is not indoctrination, especially when you're talking about a critical education. If they're armed with the truth, they can still go out and be like, they don't care and just do what they want, right?
Hey, look, fam,
and they do.
Right.
Yeah, if I was indoctrinating your kids, I promise you my focus would be getting them off their cell phones and off of TikTok in my classroom. I can guarantee you, if I had that power, I'm not starting a critical race theory. We're getting rid of the cell phones and other things that I'd rather indoctrinate them into. Not that.
Like that's the it's the freedom from indoctrination is what they're afraid of.
Yes.
Right. It's the freedom from indoctrination, and it's a power dynamic. They know the more information you have, the more you better prepared you are to deal with whatever circumstance. When you level the playing field through education, we see who dominates and who doesn't, and they're afraid to not dominate, so they cheat. And part of cheating, them lying to us, like, just comes along with the territory. It's all about power. But I got a very silly question for you, sir. Little Rock, Arkansas. What y'all feel about Jerry Jones?
Oh, I'm not a fan. Don't even start here with me on that. Look,
Part two. Mr. Gilbert, part two. That's part two.
The reason why I asked that, I'm not a fan of Jerry Jones either. But when the picture was shown, and he was highlighted that he was there, it blew everybody's mind.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
He dismissed his participation.
On the other side of the Little Rock now.
What's the behind his participation in that? Was he a part of the organizing body, or was he just happened to be there like he said he was?
Look, I don't know. It was when North Little Rock, which is actually a different city and not just like a cardinal direction within the city, but it was when the North Little Rock High School was being integrated. And I think, doesn't he have like a cigarette in his mouth or something in the photo? I could be making that up, but I do. So one, I've never been a Cowboys fan. Let me just put that out there. One.
Well, now who's your team? I need to know. So when you come back, who's your team? Giants.
We people in Arkansas just kind of have to pick, since we don't have our a home team. I root for the Pittsburgh Steelers, so that's my team. That's who I root for. I love the head coach for obvious reasons, so I'm rocking and rolling with the Steelers, even though we don't have a quarterback. But one, never been a Cowboys fan, which is weird because a lot of people in Arkansas are like huge diehard Cowboy fans, whatever. Two, he played at Arkansas. He played football at Arkansas at a time. Well, I don't really think we played on that team. So he is implicated in my mind like that. Like, that is tarnished. So
full transparency for me, I grew up a Cowboy fan, but I was indoctrinated. I didn't know no better. It is what it is. When Jerry stood up against Colin Kaepernick, it was like, all right, enough is enough. I really can't do it. And then the picture was came up. I'm like, man. So meeting somebody from Little Rock, Arkansas, I just wanted to know what was the general sentiment about Jerry Jones. It justified my step. And you rocking with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is like, legendary opposition to the Cowboys. However, the most progressive team in the NFL, right? I think the first black quarterback in the NFL was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And of course, they got the great Mike Tomlin, and we all want to see him successful. So I ain't mad at you.
Yes, the Rooney Rule. So I mean, I'm with you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Gilbert, I'm sorry. Was you finished, Hakeem? I'm sorry.
I'm done.
I apologize. What was the question from Dury? A couple of things. Thank you for being here. That was me that said you look like Lorenz Tate. So lean into that. He does a lot of good work on that. So lean into that. But I just looked up the 9 students, 7 of them are still alive. Do they still come back? I mean, so you can't teach this, but do they actively or come back and talk to the students? Are they able to do that?
Yeah. So I think a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I think Elizabeth Eckford came to the school. A
Mhm.
lot of the ninth graders, I think the entire ninth grade class got to see her in the auditorium, and the rest of us pretty much live streamed it within our classrooms.
Mhm.
And she was there, and she had some copies of her book, The Worst First Day,
Okay.
here, and she autographed them. So I got my autograph copy, had a photo with her. So they, they come when they can, so we don't see them often, but when they do, it is a big to do.
Right.
We try to make sure. So I had to have someone come babysit my class for like 10 minutes while they did an assignment so I could go get my photo with her. So, and at the time, luckily, it was a huge line, and I had just won Teacher of the Year in the school district. So when I walked in, the communications director just kind of like walked me up to the front of the line. So I just got to have my photo,
Executed some
get my
privilege.
book and
Yeah,
Right
leave.
on.
favor's not
Yeah, well,
fair. That's
yeah.
right.
That picture's on Facebook, by the way, too. I saw that getting ready for the show. So I will lift you up on that. Let me ask a question. I thought this where Hakeem was going, but it wasn't where he was going. But the question, that the way he framed the question, freedom for access to information, right? You're a debate coach, right? I'm leaning on my favorite debater, the great.
So I got a conspiracy theory going on. My conspiracy theory is that every time Baba's about to say something amazing, that COINTELPRO, the
And I
rejuvenation
got
of it
I got
And
a
what's
becomes
the
piece of you.
word? What's the key
I got a
word they
too,
right.
Jonathan. I'm like, whoa, and that put a hole in my pocket. ABA, it messed up. But this George Floyd summer, what happened? Kids in the street, led by black and brown kids with a whole lot of white kids rolling with them. I dare say this attack on education, on the teaching of history, the elimination of DAI is the fear, not just of a black planet, but of these old dyed in the wool backwards racist white folks afraid of their children being educated out of their racism.
Hmm.
Right? That's what Malcolm taught us. Education is the key to de-racicize these crazy ass people that, trying to move the world backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the one of the best things that I'm privileged in being a debate coach and being in the activity to some degree, but I think that that privilege gives me access to information that is important. And I think that my life has made more
Give
sense the
your
more that
students
I take.
access.
Yes, and they deserve. I try to be, and I try to give them what I never got in teachers, right? So I want them to have access to and be able to make those decisions for them because this could make sense, right? Like we can have conversations about this and about the world, and then we can have conversations about what does this mean in our building, what does this mean in our city, our state, right? What does this mean in things from as small as interpreting the school dress code, right? To what does this mean for things like bills that are passing in the Arkansas General Assembly? And I think that y'all are right. It's not it's the fear of getting that access to the information that is so important. And I think in part of it too, right? Like if the Little Rock Nine are still living, right? The
Right.
people that were yelling, screaming at them, spitting on them, throwing stuff at them are also still living. So some people don't want their grandchildren or great grandchildren to find
Say that.
out that their granddad was a douchebag and was yelling and was on the wrong side of history, right? So I
But
think that those kinds of things are also sort of like an undercurrent of it as well because it's not that far removed.
That's
Like
right.
but
Jerry
Mr.
Jones's
Gilbert, as a
grandkids.
I
teacher,
like
I'm sorry. Yeah, but as a teacher, you get to teach in your classroom and then go to other places and teach. Have you had that experience where through your debating that you have had somebody who maybe thought completely opposite or different than you, but through your discussion, there was an aha moment and now there's a relationship because of that. So have you had that opportunity yet?
I think the way that debate culture exists, right?
Hmm.
That you are inherently adversarial, right? It's when me and Jonathan's kids meet, I love him. I wish him nothing but the best, but we trying to give them an L today, right? So I
Right.
think that
Right,
Hmm.
that
right.
adversarial nature of it, but I
Hmm.
do think people
love
take
that.
time, internalize it, right? And then also sort of step back. And I've had people come to me and be like, the arguments you and your kids have read in front of me have made me think about things. So I don't think we're changing the world one ballot at a time, but I do think that like repetitious debates about certain things can help inform us to be better people, or even if it doesn't make me a better person, it makes me a more informed person, and that is still net better.
Yeah, and I have to agree in terms of just like I don't know the extent to which it changes people's hearts and minds in aha moment, but I do think that it's a cultural thing. I think that Trump is strong because MAGA movement is a cultural movement more than a political movement. And it is a movement of how do you feel about having the information itself and living in a world where the information exists. I think that is a fundamentally different world than the world where that information did not exist and people could not conceive of a world where that perspective was even there. I think that there's a difference between changing individual heart and individual mind in the debate round and changing the state of culture overall. And I think that to lead to your question, um, Zaid, I think that the culture is different, and I we can never know what an individual is going to go through or change, and I don't know whether that's relevant, right? Well, like a lot of times in debates, Colton, they'll be like, "Do you change? Does debate change subjectivities?" Right? Like, are you going to change my heart? Right? Which really means that I'm a racist now. I'm gonna be a racist after this round, right? Okay,
Yeah,
like,
that's
that's
exactly what it
true, right?
means.
Like that might
Yeah,
be true.
yeah,
You were racist. You were racist, like person, individual, right? Before the round,
yeah.
you're not going to change. You're going to be a racist individual after the round. But I think that having the information there means that it's different than the culture of debate. Because even though you are, and you want to be racist now and then, and you ain't never going to change, it doesn't mean that you are comfortable having the entire activity be a reflection of your racist image.
Mm-hmm.
But Jonathan, maybe that's what scared him about DEI. I know out of DEIs from different companies, you heard people come back and say, "Hey, when I was younger, because they would have these meetings, and people will come back and say, at one point I did just, and I've heard of meetings, people coming back and having conversations. So I was just asking, was it the same way to debate? But before Hakeem asked that more important question, I don't want to take the air out the
No, I
room.
think your question is important, right? Like I think when you're talking about DEI and what we were talking about is the same thing. It's not
It
about the
is.
policy; it's about the culture that surrounds it. It's not
Absolutely.
about like whether the specifics of DEI because he doesn't even know this. No one knows the specifics of DEI because it's different for every company, every corporation. It just means like really they're just saying the culture of them niggadom, right? The culture where they're them, those trans or those like it is everybody they feel uncomfortable with that is included in a world they have to deal with. It is not political in the sense that it's actually about policy. It is political in the way that they're going about purging. It is political in that it is about getting people's votes in elections. But ultimately, Donald Trump didn't run on policy. He's doing zero to help the
Mm-hmm.
millions of poor white people who voted for him, who love him, who think of him as I joke, and I said this to Baba Zaid, always hates when I say this, but to like white people, to many white people, he is the white Malcolm X, right? He is the white version of because he is about white nationalism and you will understand and feel good in your whiteness and
Mm-hmm.
in your lack of tolerance. Embrace it. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh, the hell with that. You ain't got to be diverse. You ain't got to be equitable. You ain't got to be inclusive. Matter of fact, I'm an outlaw, right? So, and it makes people feel good. Like there are a lot of people who feel actually good because of that. And that's not, I mean, as I guess that's politics, but I think that to more what you're talking about, Donna, that is a cultural thing.
People. Well, Mr. Gilbert, do you have to leave? We value people's time. Are you okay
Okay.
staying, or do you have to leave?
Yeah, look, I'm chilling, so we're good
Okay,
until
well,
you get me
Hakeem
off.
takes because I'm going to ask Hakeem a question about something that happened 30 years of state because you may want to weigh in. But
Right,
Hakeem, do you
because we
want to
have,
ask the question
and
first
just so
before?
that everyone knows who Hakeem is, uh,
Mhm.
Hakeem Green is Newark's ambassador to hip hop. That is a title that I've given him. He's an amazing hip hop artist. You need to check out Madism and the different things that he has done. He works often with KRS-One, has brought KRS-One to Newark multiple times. When KRS-One did the verses, Hakeem was there representing the great city of Newark as well. So yes, Hakeem.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, let me add in. I was a former school teacher. I taught junior high school from 1990 to 94, co-founder of an after-school program called Act Now, African Children of Tomorrow Now. That was in 1990. And that's how I met Baba Zaid Muhammad right there. Learning how to be an activist and learning how to use the culture in a certain way. I ended up hooking up with KRS-One, was in a group called Channel Live, put out a record called Madism, which John just referenced. So over the
And
years,
and one thing that I was going to say, and one thing that I also want to just give a ton of respect for, 24 Hours of Peace that he has done for the last 20 years, that has been a major force in the city in terms of its link to anti-violence and violence prevention and the entire culture of community dealing with, resolving, and lowering violence. Now Newark, like the violence rate has gone down like 60%, and a lot of it is based on, again, the culture that was created. And Zaid is way back when no one was talking about it. He put together 24 Hours of Peace to try to transform our city. So
yeah, I got
just bigger.
I got with the Honorable Mayor Roz Baraka when he was Southward Councilman, old friend of mine from childhood. He understood the power of hip hop culture, told him the idea, 24 hours of peace, love, unity, safely having fun, creating a platform for people who are really doing the work. Big shout out to Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery. Big shout out to Brick City Peace Collective. And these are offices that the mayor has put together to really touch the city in a real way. And we use hip hop as a cultural backdrop just to be able to communicate with people in language they understand. That said, what do you use or who do you use? What artists are you listening to that provide the superhero music soundtrack that helps you charge that hip hop battery? Who's that speaking that language that's, you know what, I need to plug in so I can go fight this battle?
For sure. I mean, it depends on how I feel in the moment. I'll probably oscillate between a few people. So I'll just give you a list. If that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay, perfect. So at any moment, depending on how I feel, if it's kind of like more older, classical, not classical, but like if it's older, or like what I want to feel nostalgic, right? I'll probably listen to like some older Jay-Z stuff from when I first started getting in. If I'm feeling like real now and I'm like, I'm really into a groove and I'm like doing some really good research and I just need, just something like good to hear, I might just pop in, like Lil Baby, Big X to Plug, something like that, where I can still listen to them, but kind of like ride with the beat and that kind of stuff. But my kids will also tell you that like sometimes like if I have like my prep period before debate, they may walk in and I'm like listening to Kendrick Lamar. So it really just depends. But in my classes, they'll tell you I really don't listen to hip hop that much. I'm usually playing like 90s R&B or something to kind of keep the kids mellow because we don't need them acting up in my class. But definitely that was probably
Get them amped up.
So Marvin Gaye, Wake Up Everybody. Okay. But so you don't like TikTok, you don't use TikTok. But did you do a Kendrick Lamar?
I don't have I don't have anything personally against TikTok. I'll scroll on it. My girlfriend will probably tell me probably more than I should some days, but I have a problem with it in the classroom, right?
Right, exactly. Yes.
That's sort of my thing. But no, I just enjoy it
Time,
for I guess
place.
what it is. Yeah, but there's a time and a place for it for sure. But I do think that what people listen to, not just in the moment, but like in totality, can really tell a lot about who they are or like what kind of mood I'm in. Because I kind of, okay, I have, this is not hip hop related, but I think this is. So I saw a clip on TikTok. Kobe Bryant was kind of talking about how he listens to like a theme song from the Michael Myers theme song. He listens to that some days to kind of like get him in the mood or whatever. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, what is my iteration of that? And I realized it when I had given one of my students an assignment to watch a movie that I thought he had watched and he hadn't. And it was a Spike Lee movie, Bamboozled. And like the theme song, right there, it's like very somber, you know, the chords are very deliberate. And it really just puts you in like a very just like dark mood. And from there, you know, if I'm upset about things or somebody says something racist to my children, so now we got to get back in the next debate round, I'll play that. So I think music does have a lot in terms of like being explanatory of how a person is feeling, either in the moment or just like how they are as a person writ large.
Yeah, I really appreciate that breakdown too. That understanding of why we asked that question about, you know, what's music, who you listening to kind of help you charge that battery. And it's not just about hip hop, you know, music alone. Art does that, you know, visual and audio, all of that. So if you really tuned in, can help you push you through life and push you through whatever you're struggling with. So, you know, that was dope. Thank you.
Well, what I wanted you to say, I wanted to ask how I came about. We had talked about this offline and how to approach it. But March 26th marked 30 years that we lost Eazy-E. And I know when he was leaving us, he had got diagnosed with AIDS, and the work like one of the things I learned by doing, he did a lot of philanthropic work. And then even when he got the word that he wasn't going to live, he even he wished he had more time to teach people how to approach the sickness and everything. But 30 years, and you always wonder, like you said, you do. His mother was, when I seen his mother come up and accept when they got to the Hall of Fame, his mother was an educator and his father, middle class family, was a postal worker. And then he was basically an entrepreneur and everything. But 30 years, and I was just looking back all the Instagrams that went up on March 26th, that people still have. He funded Dr. Dre's, I believe, the first he was the first label and everything. So in a short span, he had did a life. And is anything more, Hakeem, that you could say?
Eazy-E is the doorway to, you know, what they call gangster rap or reality rap from the West Coast. Definitely responsible for Dr. Dre, Ren, Ice Cube, DJ Yella as NWA. Eazy-E apparently was the money behind it. He funded it. And then ended up being the first rapper out of the bunch, even though he wasn't an MC. Ice Cube was his ghostwriter. But Eazy-E as an artist was just relatable to the entire country. I mean, it was a huge loss. Of course, the battles with Dre later on, the NWA, the group would break up. Ice Cube would leave the group first, and then, you know, people got mad at, I guess, Eazy and his business practices with Jerry Heller, who founded Ruthless Records, which the group was signed to, but they would later break out. And then Eazy-E would later sign Bone Thugs and Harmony from Ohio, another just powerhouse rap group. You know, he had his finger on the pulse of what people wanted to hear and where the state of hip hop rap music was at. And when we found out he was sick and that he was going to die, it was devastating to everybody, because the way he lived his life was kind of like a superhero. Right. I think the movie Straight Outta Compton that they put out, I think, you know, me being from the East Coast looking at it, seemed like a very great representation of who Eazy-E was relative to the stories, the epic stories that I had heard about him, and kind of how he lived his life and became this rap figure, this hip hop figure. So huge loss to the hip hop community. Rest in peace, Eazy-E.
And I'll just ask, well, he was the only person in the circle that had AIDS. I mean, is that still is just left? I mean, so they say. I know you always tell me, look at the story behind the story behind the story.
It's just real. It's just, you know, It's a touchy situation, you know.
Okay.
Who's
Okay.
you know.
Leave it there.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 30 years. Like, yo, really?
3/26, 1995.
Hard to believe, yeah.
That was a week after my first album dropped, Station Identification, off of Capitol Records. A week later.
Wow,
that's crazy. Yeah.
And his same birthday as DJ Rhino, September 7th, born on September 7th. So.
All right, now that way to make us feel like we're old. That's cool. We got that.
No, we don't get
like 30 years.
No, wise. Now you're wise. You know what I mean? But if Teacher Gilbert didn't make you feel old by saying classical and then Jay-Z, he's like, I'm just saying, well, classical is not like.
I knew I misspoke the minute it flew out my mouth.
I'm just kidding.
I prefer classical. I prefer vintage. I prefer legendary.
There we go. Yes. My bad.
Old is like, nah, we don't get old, we get better.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah. I think if anybody would say, hey, you're 50 years old, would you go back to 18? I'm sure every 50-year-old would say, only if I could take my wisdom with me.
Yeah.
Fair.
Not going back blind.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. That is fair. So what else is going on with you, Hakeem? What else do we talk about?
Well, we got Madism Sports every Tuesday. That's why I brought up that sports question and would love to get you on the show so we can talk more Pittsburgh Steelers. I got Madism. You familiar with the legendary hip hop group Naughty by Nature? I'm sure. The DJ KG is one of my co-hosts on the show Madism Sports, and that's every Tuesday. And of course, we discuss sports, but also the impact politically, culturally, socially. We have all those types of conversations. So we love to have you on.
Please
get your information, and we can chop it up. And we have that going on. 24 hours a piece is September 5th, September 6th. Literally a 24-hour peace festival that we've been doing since 2010. We start 6 p.m. on Friday, and we go straight through until 6 p.m. on Saturday. We're at 24 hours.
Now, where's it going to be this year? Like normally
last year,
Same location, right?
South 10th and West Market.
And just said, like, who was your lineup last year? You had all women. Who's your lineup?
It was all women. So we did Roxanne Shante, we did Nikki D, we did Sunshine Anderson, Lady of Rage, Yo-Yo, Moni Love, and Maya.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody. Lady Luck, Lady London, the Baddies, Asian Doll. I'm forgetting somebody, but it was an all-female lineup. It was amazing. I think the best year. We've had Queen Latifah. We've had KRS-One, of course, Rakim, Kane, Carl Thomas, Fat Joe, Talib Kweli.
Common, right?
Mm-hmm. Man, the list goes on. Smith & Wesson, Naughty by Nature, of course, DOS Effects, Monifa.
Do It All.
Do It All, Lords and Underground, of course, West Ward Councilman.
Redman.
Redman. Ghostface, AZ, Fabulous, Junior Mafia, G Herbo. I mean, too many to name over the last.
Yeah, so you missed somebody. Some Redman did an interview, and it was like they asked the question, "Do you still hang out with Method Man?" He's like, "I don't hang out with these rappers. I'm older now. We got things to do." He said, "But it was so funny." But I had to send it to Councilwoman because he said, "Who I do hang out with, Do It All, Dupree of Lords," and it was such a great, context. Like, no, we're grown. We got grown things to do, but we get together when we got business and everything. And I'm looking back to, go ahead, Hakeem.
Do It All, who she just mentioned, who's a very close friend of Redman, is from the legendary rap group Lords of the Underground. Big group in the 90s and 2000s. One of the rappers in that group is the West Ward Councilman for the city of Newark, New Jersey. Yep. So again, we talk about hip hop culture, using hip hop culture as a tool to uplift the people. I think that's a great example of the power of real hip hop, what hip hop really is. Hip hop isn't what we do, it's how we do it. The mayor as well is definitely entrenched in hip hop culture. And,
yes.
He's a hip hop mayor, no doubt. So, yeah, that.
And you asked that Congresswoman, but I think there's a couple of people who are MCs, rappers who have gone on to be legislators. You know, if you look at it, I don't know if you have accrued the list, but I know there is a session down at Congressional Black Caucus Legislative where hip hop has affected legislation.
Yeah, I've sat several panels for the CBC, and of course the work that the Hip Hop Caucus does. Reverend
and that's the Congressional Black Caucus. They do a conference, I believe, Donna, you said every
Yes,
September?
annual legislative, which is in September. But we're going to have to send that to you, Mr. Gilbert, so you can kind of put that. We love to have students to put on the bus or the train and come down and, you know, get a day or two of legislation, because it goes from Thursday to Sunday. And you're already doing it, teaching them how to write legislation and things like that. So if they come down and they sit and they affect legislation, like sometimes congressional members or Senate members in the Congressional Black Caucus will be amending their legislation, and they put it before the audience, and you have an opportunity to speak on it, disagree or agree.
Yeah, look, yeah, it sounds like a great opportunity for sure.
We'll make sure we get the link to you so you see if it's something that can happen. Nothing like bringing it to students to DC so they can really see and to go through those halls and everything. And, you know, and then there's also, you know, great opportunity for anything from scholarships to fellowships. So make sure, you know, you look it up and everything. The money is always important when they get ready to go to school.
Definitely. And it's a really good selling tool for parents, I've learned.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Cut that tuition bill. Yes. But as we are 2 minutes, we're doing good. And just, is there anything Little Rock, Arkansas, that you want us to know? Because there's a lot that you guys do down there that we should know about, that you want the world to know about what you guys are doing down there.
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of one, Arkansas is a natural state, so it's gorgeous here all the time as long as it's not hot, humid, and sticky in August and late July. But we went to this play at the Rep Theater, which is like one of the theaters here in the city, and it was called Proud. And they had done kind of like a Black History program, and all the 4 people in it were native Arkansans and native to Little Rock, actually. And so there was, you know, the script was written by them, and it was a really good show. And the first night, well, the night we were supposed to go, it snowed and iced, and so we didn't get to go. And so we went the makeup night, and we're getting there. I'm flipping through the playbill, and I'm like, I know this person. Like, we went to church together, and he's doing the piano, singing, you know, shout out to Ricardo Richardson. And then flipping again, and I'm like, I know this guy. He used to dance all the time in school, and now he was like dancing on stage. Dorsey, shout out to Dorsey Brown. So I think that we have a lot of good things going on, and I think that oftentimes we are defined by, you know, like HBO documentaries, or Governor Faubus is not wanting to integrate the schools. And you know, we have some we have some struggles, right? We don't really have the best murder rate. You know, we have a black male mayor that's trying. You know, so I think that, like, you know, Little Rock is, I think, a very good microcosm of like progress and like beauty, while also understanding that like we deserve better. And I don't think that's to implicate anyone in particular, but I just think that, like, you know, like there's a lot of good things. You know, I had a former student in my classroom that plays in the NBA, Moses Moody, plays for the Warriors. You know, like he randomly messaged me one day. I think it was his second year in the league. We're on Instagram, and he had posted something out, you know, man, mad proud of. He had me as a 9th grader. And he was like, you know, Mr. Gilbert, I was telling not kids, but he was talking in the locker room about some of the stuff that we had discussed in class. And he was trying to explain to him as best as he can from his recollection. I'm like, yeah, my class 4 or 5, 6 years ago, you know, and
wow,
now
beautiful.
you're over here, you know, now it's when I taught at a different school, not Central, but you know, the fact still remains, you know, like, so I think that like we are really good microcosm of like really good, beautiful things and people and experiences. Food are great here, you know.
You see,
but
Principal Caffelli said outstanding to you.
Yeah,
you know Principal Caffelli?
No, I do not.
We have to get you his book. Okay, we got a package we got to send to you.
And we have to send you his link.
As you can see, I'll definitely read it, Bob. So please give me. I'll definitely read it. But that's my Little Rock in a nutshell. It's beautiful down here. The Clinton Center is beautiful. There's a lot of food. There's a lot of other things. Central's great, but I just think overall sometimes we get a bad rap.
Well, I
Also,
think you've been
shout out
getting
to
in good
ISO.
trouble. Good trouble, as
Right.
Congresswoman would say. Congressman would say.
Definitely.
That one more thing. What was you gonna say? That was
No,
it.
I was just saying, shout out to ISO Joe, who was from Little Rock, went to school at Central High School. Joe Johnson played in the league for a while, but we are more than just the few athletes that come from our beloved city. We have a lot to offer. Like I think that sometimes, people forget that like good things. I wrote Mr. Austin will tell you, Jonathan will tell you, the 2020-2021 school year, the national policy debate topic was criminal justice reform. I wrote that a year before George Floyd, any of that even happened. I was just like, because I write topic papers. I'm Arkansas's vote at policy debate, and I thought, I had written a topic paper for like the Middle East the year before and then made the top 5. So I was like, I can ride this wave. I didn't think people would vote for it. It made the top 5. It made the final 2. And, it won.
Best
And
topic
then
we ever debated.
We had debates about that for an entire year. So, I just kind of, I got
and
to
it
toot
was
my
the
own
best
horn.
topic we have ever debated.
It was timely.
Like it was spot on. I wish COVID hadn't been going on during that topic and we could have all met in person.
Oh man.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was
But
the
maybe
best
so, because people were
topic
sitting
we
down to
ever
listen.
debated.
Yeah. So, those are things, I'm working on another topic paper, a Supreme Court paper that they'll have to overturn some cases or whatever. So look out to that. Yes.
Oh, you see that, Rosetta doing a phenomenal little run. But listen,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert, you had a person who's went to school, graduated, went to college, is in the NFL, goes into the locker room, has to have a discussion, and he reflects on the class when you're 9th grade. Don't ever lose sight of that. Those are the big things. That right? It's like, oh, I'm trying to tell him. That's big.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to thank everybody who came on our show today. The disciples and William Snowden, for the director of the Louisiana Juror Project, Congresswoman LaMonica McIver for here, and real thank you to Colton Gilbert. Thank you for coming on, and we got to have you back. We got to have you like even producing some segments and talking to some people there and bringing them on, right? Like, so this is the whole point. I think
The education
and we can talk
panels.
about this later. Well, and even just education, culture, represent Little Rock, right? Like people who are there, bring them on. Let's have these conversations, because I do think, and one of the things I've always, and Baba always really likes about this program, is you can get different activists from different parts of the country talking to each other. And you have different politicians or different people looking at, like, what did Newark do in the Office of Violence Prevention? What are the issues that are going on in Little Rock? How did that work? Right? Like all these things, and just sometimes these conversations, these politicians, having these conversations, hearing these conversations can make a difference. So definitely
And
want to
Mr.
have
Gilbert, before he shuts me up, I'm gonna tell you, it was one of our NFL players from Newark. But he comes, Whitehead, that he comes on and he does financial literacy. And when he comes in this room, he is very, because what he did with NFL Health, his give back was financial literacy. And he takes that helmet off and he's very serious about it. So, even if Mr. Moody, you come on and what'd you say?
That's Tahir Whitehead, right?
Tahir Whitehead, right.
Yeah,
so
he comes with the show all the time, right?
yeah, but when he gets to talking about finance and everything, we all like, okay. And so, so
But
even,
it's about finance, what to do with your money, right?
That's right.
Excellent.
So whoever you think about bringing, whether it's your Supreme Court paper, whether it's Mr. Moody and everything, everybody has something to bring. So please.
All right, so again, like, thank you very much for coming out. And Donna, I'm just not trying to extend, for the Donna. I have this running thing, and really, Ed was like you for the last. Every time you're not here, it's Ed, right? Ed, I'm talking about you.
Ed
right?
took
When the
over
show's we're about to move on to a different segment. We're like, I got one more question. I got one more question. Like, we're already over time, and right. So
listen, I got a big clock behind me, and I was like 8:58. Oh, it's time to listen.
All right, cool. So thank you, everyone.
Time management.
We'll be back next week. We've got school board elections coming up. We've got a lot of good guests coming up. And be safe, be careful. Until next week.
All right, y'all. You don't stop.